Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The Prime Minister promises asylum seekers will no longer have a golden ticket to Britain.
As he prepares to meet European leaders in Copenhagen to discuss tackling illegal migration.
Is the threat of reform why the government has chosen that now is the time to declare asylum rules are not fit for purpose?
Pressure mounts on Conservative peer Michelle Mone to step down from the House of Lords over her role in a COVID contract scandal.
After the Prime Minister labelled small boat crossings across the Channel Farage boats, we're going to be debating if the Reform leader has become a scapegoat for the illegal migration crisis. That's at 7:20 this morning.
The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, vows to rip up climate change laws if she ever becomes Prime Minister. We'll be putting that to the Shadow Energy Secretary later this morning.
US President Donald Trump warns of serious consequences if the government shutdown continues. Here's what Vice President J.D. Vance had to say.
Do the right thing, open up the people's government, and then let's fix healthcare policy for the American people.
And GB News speaks to British military personnel who's taken legal action over allegedly faulty earplugs.
The Royal British Legion estimates more than 300,000 men and women who served in Britain's armed forces now suffer from life-changing hearing difficulties.
Tributes are pouring in for Dame Jane Goodall, the pioneering chimpanzee scientist who has died aged 91.
And sport this morning, Arsenal and Newcastle both winning the Champions League while Manchester City concede a late penalty to draw at Monaco. There are accusations and sour grapes from the USPGA over Europe's Ryder Cup win. There's a surprise. And the boat race will no longer be live on TV. And is anybody really bothered? Sorry.
Storm Amy arrives tomorrow night, but before Amy hits the UK, we're going to see some impactful rainfall across northwestern parts of the country later today. Full details coming up in the forecast soon.
Good morning, it's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Cameron Walker, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Oh, such sad news, isn't it, about Dame Jane Goodall? I couldn't believe it when the notification came through on my phone yesterday.
I know.
Which is silly to say, isn't it, when she's 91 years old? But it's still such a shock. You think someone as iconic as that would never leave.
Yeah.
Earth, but...
And people of that generation, of course, you just think they'll be around forever, and of course she isn't. But we've got this amazing video which you can hopefully see on our GB News social media videos, channels even, if you are watching or listening on the radio. But her hugging this chimpanzee, look. The amount of pioneering scientific research this woman did while she was on this earth is absolutely incredible. Talking about like how chimpanzees, Ellie, you were saying, use tools just like humans do.
She changed the world. So previously they didn't realise that chimpanzees were as intelligent as they are, and they didn't realise that they use tools to help them eat and to help them forage for food. And she, because she spent so many years, I think it was something like 16 years in Kenya, just living with chimpanzees, working with chimpanzees, she saw it with her own eyes for the very first time. And scientists had never realised that before.
You know what that was? That was a proper hug as well.
Yeah, they loved her as well.
I know it sounds crazy, but you know there are some people that don't really, are not very huggy, and you could...
Yes.
You know, I know it sounds ridiculous, but the fact that even just you can see between her and the chimpanzee about the bond, and just the way they're so sweet.
She had her own language with them, I think.
Incredible.
She did.
Such an incredible relationship, and they loved her as well.
And that particular chimpanzee was an orphan, I think, from a Jane Goodall Institute. So she had an animal sanctuary, and that was why they had such a close personal relationship, because Jane Goodall wouldn't go out into the wild and make friends with chimpanzees, because, of course, she would advocate that they need to be left alone to do the things in nature. But this one was helped by humans, so it didn't. So it survived in the wild.
And she was a female scientist working in the 1960s. I mean, even that alone, I mean, she was pioneering, she was, you know, ahead of her time. Incredible. And tributes just coming in from all around the world. I think Leonardo DiCaprio has paid tribute overnight.
Yes, calling her a true hero. We've got the Duke and Duchess of Sussex describing her as a visionary humanitarian and friend. We've also had a number of former US politicians as well. Joe Biden expressed being deeply saddened by her passing. Barack Obama praised her ability to connect with nature.
Yeah, Chris Packham says she sat on the forest floor in Tanzania and sat with those chimpanzees. She knew them all as individuals. She knew their personalities. She watched them grow and watched those personalities change. They've never been documented in the way that she was able to do so.
Definitely. And, of course, if more tributes come in throughout the show, we will bring that straight to you.
Now, 6:05, the Prime Minister is pledging to put an end to the golden ticket asylum system.
Yes, it comes as Sir Keir Starmer greater rights are being granted to small boat migrants over those arriving legally, even.
Well, it will mean that refugees will now have to earn the right to bring family to Britain through avenues such as English language tests.
Well, this all comes as the Prime Minister prepares to join European leaders later today in Copenhagen, admitting the continent is failing to stem the flow of illegal migrants.
Well, joining us now is former political advisor Charlie Rowley. Good to see you this morning. Charlie, what do you make of this, pledging to end the golden ticket for asylum seekers?
Good morning, and good morning, Prime Minister. Welcome to the party, at last. The idea that for so long we've all been saying that the UK is a soft touch, that there's been too much of a pull factor for people who want to come into this country illegally, particularly around small boats. For far too long, all of us who have been sensible centrists, or even people on the centre-right, or even on the right side of politics, have been saying this for far too long. And now the Prime Minister has got the memo.
Well, why didn't the Conservative government do this for 14 years while they're in power?
Well, that's a jolly good question.
Yes.
And one that many Conservatives will be asking themselves day in, day out. But I think, look, you know, the Tories, to their credit, did try to bring forward things through Parliament, like the Illegal Migration Bill, the Security and Borders Bill, all of which it won't be lost on your viewers and listeners to know that the Labour Prime Minister, who was the leader of the opposition for 5 years, voted against consistently. So, you know, the efforts in Parliament in the past were thwarted, but the idea now that the government are recognising what we've all been saying, and you know, they have put out a quote, if I can read it, which is in the Times, which has said, you know, we've been criticising this country for being too generous, creating a pull factor. Today, well, it's only today, the government is showing that we get it, that we have been overly generous, and we will reduce the pull factors to see the thousands attempting small boat crossings brackets come to an end. So that is welcome news. Now, does it happen in reality? Let's wait and see. But for far too long, people that have come across on the small boats have been given priority. They have been given the hotels. They have been given the £50 a week in benefits. They have been able to see a doctor's and dentist's appointment, which, you know, viewers and listeners, particularly of GBUs, will be not thrilled to hear, because it's very difficult to get one these days. So people that have come illegally through small boats seem to have been given priority, even over and above people that have entered the country legally or have sought refuge and been granted asylum through legal and other means.
And it's part of this crackdown on what's described as asylum shopping. So it's people who are looking across Europe and essentially just trying to figure out who's going to be the most generous to them in terms of settling.
Exactly, because whenever you ask the question, why do people come to the UK? Why, you know, are they fleeing France, for example? You know, why? You know, that is a safe country. Exactly, of course, along with many other countries across Europe. Why the UK? It is purely because the benefits that you would receive in the UK. I'm not attacking, the British mentality of being open-hearted and welcoming people, because, we've always done that, and that's the right thing to do for people who are genuine need. Look at the situation that we had in Ukraine, for example. That was an amazing display of British generosity to help people that are in a desperate need. But it is simply because our rules are more open, more tolerant. It is more easy, I suppose, for people to come into the UK and claim things. But now it is absolutely addressing that balance, rightly so, that if you come into the country, if you're granted asylum, that you will actually have to make a contribution as well as receive the benefit of being in the UK.
Our viewers and listeners may be asking this question before this morning. We've had already a record 34,000 illegal migrants crossing the English Channel so far this year in 2025. This new policy that Labour is putting forward this morning is not going to apply for them. So they are still going to be allowed, in theory, if they are granted asylum, to bring their family across, to get indefinite leave to remain or, permanent status here in the United Kingdom, which is going to anger quite a lot of Brits, isn't it?
Exactly, and that's, on top of, it's about 50,000 plus people that have come in since Sir Keir Starmer became Prime Minister. So the numbers are huge in that respect. And of course, the government has got to get its ducks in the row and probably pass on some of the laws through Parliament, which, I don't think would have too much of a bumpy ride. But it's all very well the Prime Minister saying one thing. It's about delivering. For too long, I think the problem with, you mentioned the Conservative Party of the past, it talked the talk but wasn't able to walk the walk. And, it's all very well saying what you're going to do. You've now got to show it to the British people. So will the Labour Party, those on the left, will they back the Prime Minister when it comes to this kind of rhetoric? Because there was the whole division, as we saw throughout the Labour Party conference last week. The Prime Minister's sort of saying one thing and his new Home Secretary seemingly saying something quite different.
Well, Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philps already branding this a gimmick. So, as you say, talk the talk, the Conservatives accusing Labour of doing that. Well, that's what Conservatives are accusing Labour of doing.
Well, I think, Chris might be onto something, and I'm sure he'll be out later on wanting to see the detail. As it turns into attention to the Conservative Party conference starting this weekend, I'm sure Chris Philp will be wanting to say that the Tories have put out a lot of plans previously. The government, when they were in power, put out these plans that were thwarted by Labour. So there's a lot of hypocrisy there. But, we've got to wait and see. It is welcome, what the Prime Minister is saying. Is it too late? Obviously, I think it is, yes, and a lot of people will do too. So let's hope that it does come to fruition. But proof in the pudding is in the eating.
Yes. Thank you very much, Charlie. Thank you very much. Let us know what you think on that one. gbnews.com/you'll say, will it work? Let us know your thoughts. Now, 11 minutes past 6, thousands of British military personnel have started legal action against an American PPE firm called 3M. It's after it allegedly supplied the Ministry of Defence with defective earplugs, leaving many veterans with life-changing injuries.
Well, those affected are now calling for compensation, and our national reporter Jack Carson has the story.
So these are just a few of my keepsakes that I kept from my service.
Dave Pettifer is a Royal Marines veteran and one of thousands who say they've now got hearing loss because of allegedly defective ear protection. From 2003 to 2023, 3M supplied an estimated 400,000 sets of combat arms earplugs to the Ministry of Defence. The Royal British Legion estimates more than 300,000 men and women who served in Britain's armed forces now suffer from life-changing hearing difficulties.
Those are the earplugs themselves.
After leaving the military, Dave now lives in Oldbury and describes the hearing loss he deals with.
Certainly over the last sort of maybe 3 or 4 years now, that I've noticed that I can't hear anybody speaking. If there's a bit of background noise, even if it's just another conversation going on that's close to me. Sometimes when you can't hear what they're saying, and you maybe have to ask them what they've said a second time or even a third time, it's incredibly embarrassing. Am I going to have hearing aids before the time I'm 50? I've been asked the question before, what is it you want? Do you want to say sorry? Well, what good's that to anybody now? It's absolutely useless.
Now the first ever UK legal action against 3M has officially begun. KP Law have issued a pre-action letter to the American PPE giant this week seeking justice and compensation for hearing impaired British troops. Tom Longstaff is the head of product liability at KP Law.
Individuals have used the combat arms earplugs thinking that they were protected from the very high levels of noise they're exposed to during their employment, including on active tours of Iraq and Afghanistan. And sometime later have developed debilitating hearing conditions, including hearing loss, including tinnitus. But it's simply not good enough to say to veterans that they can apply for compensation through a government-funded scheme. We've already seen that very few people, in fact, have received any compensation at all.
In Parliament, the MP for Solihull West and Shirley, Neil Shastri-Hurst, has called for a public inquiry.
Will the Minister use their arts of persuasion on the Prime Minister to have an independent inquiry to see the extent of this, whether any other equipment is involved and how we can prevent it happening again?
The Conservative politician says it would help ensure accountability.
Those that have taken the King's shilling to defend our national interests deserve to be protected, and when there is equipment that is putting them in harm's way because of the fact that it is potentially defective, I think that asks for questions to be answered by government and by the MOD more widely.
In response, a 3M spokesperson said, "We take the allegations concerning our combat arms earplug version 2 seriously. When used properly, this product was safe and effective for its intended purpose. 3M is prepared to defend itself in any litigation threatened in the English courts regarding that product." A spokesperson for the Ministry of Defence added, "We take the health and well-being of our personnel seriously and always look at how we can reduce noise levels in their working environment. The Armed Forces Compensation Scheme provides no-fault compensation to service personnel and veterans for injuries, illness and death caused by service. Across the country, veterans are determined their fight for justice will be heard loud and clear." Jack Carson, GB News.
The time is 6:15. Now it's time for a look at your weather with Aidan McGibbon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office. Storm Amy has been named, likely to hit the UK during Friday night. But for the start of today, it's a fine start for many of us. Largely cloudy before some heavy rain turns up across the northwest. Now, this rain isn't Storm Amy, but it is just ahead of the storm, and it's likely to bring some impacts to western Scotland, where we've already had some very wet weather through the week. That rain eased off overnight, but it turns heavier and more persistent once again through Northern Ireland and western Scotland by the afternoon. With the breeze here as well, it's going to be an unpleasant afternoon. But elsewhere, any mist patches soon clearing, bright enough for the Midlands, the south and southeast of England, and feeling warm once again with relatively light winds. That won't be the case for much of Scotland as we end the day. The heavy rain moves into the north and parts of eastern Scotland as well. It continues through the west with another 50 to 80 millimetres of rain over western Scotland during the next few days, on top of what's already fallen this week. Risk of localised flooding. Northern Ireland also seeing a very wet rush hour. West Wales and Cornwall at this stage starts to see the rain, and it's during the night that the main swathe of winds and rain moves through across the UK. So a lively night of weather for many of us. Wet and windy, some heavy rain out there for a few hours before eventually, as dawn breaks tomorrow, those outbreaks of rain affecting East Anglia and the southeast, the far north of Scotland as well, but drier elsewhere, and a very mild night to come. A notable difference stepping outside in the south first thing, compared with the much cooler mornings we've seen so far this week. And actually, there's a relatively fine spell of weather in between systems during Friday itself. Some spells of sunshine come through across central and eastern parts, feeling warm once again, but you can see outbreaks of rain already by now reaching western areas, and the wind picks up as Storm Amy arrives.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now at 17 minutes past 6, it's time now for our daily reflection.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hi, I'm Richard England, Vicar of Crofton Parish. You probably know the story of the very hungry caterpillar. Every day, the caterpillar had to eat more and more until he had eaten enough to turn into a butterfly. Well, worry is a bit like the very hungry caterpillar. Unfortunately, worry never has enough. It always needs more to feed on, and it doesn't transform into something beautiful at the end. Worry is the sense that life is more threatening than it is, and that we have less resources than we really do. You can tell that worry or anxiety are eating away at you when commonplace tasks like going shopping or driving become sources of anxiety. You experience a disproportionate sense of threat. Jesus talked about worry to people whose lives were much more under threat than most of ours are. His answer was not to eliminate worry, but to give it less to feed on. Don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will take care of itself, he said, meaning instead focus on today, on the things you can manage. Try to put a boundary around worry so it doesn't keep on feeding. Of course, for Christians, we know that Jesus is with us. That doesn't eliminate worry, but it means we have not only our own resources to meet the challenges of life, but God's presence and peace too.
Right, let's have a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom.
And tributes are pouring in for Dame Jane Goodall, the world-famous wildlife advocate and chimpanzee expert who has died at the age of 91. Dr. Goodall died of natural causes whilst in California. Former US President Barack Obama and the actor Leonardo DiCaprio are among those who have paid tribute.
Greta Thunberg's Gaza flotilla, the global Sumud flotilla, has been intercepted by Israeli military and the activist has been detained. Israel's foreign ministry later posted a clip on X of Greta Thunberg being detained and said that Greta and her friends are safe and healthy.
The government has confirmed new digital identity cards will not be called Brit cards.
In an interview with GB News' political editor Chris Hope, the Scottish Labour leader's Anas Sarwar had this to say.
How's this Brit card going down? The Brit card?
Well, one is not called Brit card.
It is called a Brit card.
It's not called Brit card. It's been confirmed already. It's not called.
What's it called then?
Brit
Scott
card. We'll find out what it's called.
So it's not called a Brit card?
So it's not called a Brit card.
Who told you that? I thought I was there on Friday. It was called a Brit card on Friday.
No, I can. If this is an exclusive on GB News,
down the camera.
I can confirm it's not called a Brit card. But look, it depends again what this is. If we are talking about, because I understand the civil liberties argument.
Yes.
And if this is something that would be used around stop and search and things like that, I think that would be a step too far. If what this is you're getting your driving license on a digital platform.
Benefits.
And you're getting your national insurance card on a digital platform. And that digital platform can be used to verify your identification when you go for a job and for an employer to verify your identification, which they have to do anyway in paper form. They can do it in digital form. I think that's a very good thing, but of course...
Well, you can watch and listen to Chopper's political podcast from Friday, 6 a.m. on gbnews.com and wherever you usually get your podcasts from.
Still to come, federal workers will be laid off in the US government shutdown. Bev Turner has reaction from locals in Washington, D.C. That's next.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back at 6:25. Now, the White House has revealed that federal workers could begin losing their jobs very soon. It says the US government shutdown enters its second day.
The shutdown began after last-ditch Senate votes on funding plans fell short. Democrats and Republicans are blaming each other, with even President Trump pointing the finger at them.
Well, the Democrats want to shut it down, so when you shut it down, you have to do layoffs. So we'd be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected, and they're Democrats. They're going to be Democrats. As you know, this country, no country can afford to pay for illegal immigration, health care for everybody that comes into the country, and that's what they're insisting. And obviously, I have an obligation to not accept that. That would affect everybody.
Well, our late night show live presenter Bev Turner got reaction from Washington, D.C.
What is the government shutdown? How will it affect people here?
Well, there's certainly the possibility that a lot of government employees in the area will be laid off.
I'm from New Jersey, so I'm just a tourist. So what it means to me is this week there's a bunch of federal facilities are going to be shut down. Like we're supposed to go to the Washington Mine tomorrow, shut down. Luckily, the Smithsonian's are open for a few more days, but all the tourists that are coming to D.C. next week, it's a shutdown. They're all going to cancel. So all these local businesses, all these local hotels that are here are going to get hit with cancellations.
So they're talking about layoffs rather than just furloughs this time around, which would be a very different thing than previous shutdowns. Right now, the Republicans and the Democrats can't agree on how to fund the government. They can't keep the government open until one side or the other budges. If it doesn't go for very long, it's not much of an impact. But if it goes beyond a week or two, then people start not getting paychecks, services start getting lesser and lesser, and it becomes more of a problem.
Who do you think is to blame?
Hard to say. Both sides are digging in. I think everybody wants to reduce spending, and so I think they need to come together and find ways to do that.
I think it's both sides. I don't have a strong opinion either way, but I think it's both sides can't come to an agreement.
It's never really just one. So while we do a great job of finger pointing to one side in this country, I'd be hesitant to do that because both of them have their things that they're holding on to.
Well, we're joined now by US correspondent Sarah Firth, live from Washington, D.C. Good morning to you, Sarah. Of course, this isn't the first US government shutdown in history, but the question is, how long is this going to last, as federal workers will not get paid?
Yes, good morning, guys. Well, we're in the second day of the shutdown, a vote that took place on Capitol Hill to try and bring an end to the shutdown. That also failed. Look, what you've got here is Democrats and Republicans failing to reach agreement over a short-term funding bill. Now, what the Democrats are saying is they want to see Republicans extend an expiring healthcare subsidies. The Republicans, for their part, they feel like they've got the upper hand here. And what we've seen in that first day of shutdown was really a war of words playing out between both sides holding press conferences, the Republicans calling this the Democrat shutdown, the Schumer shutdown, saying that this is as clean a bill as they are going to be able to present. And that Democrats need to get on board with this. The Democrats in their press conference pushing back on that, saying, no, 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 the Republicans, they control the House, they control the Senate, they control the White House. It is their job to engage with us. The long and short of it, guys, is that neither side look like they're close to a deal at this point, or that any serious talking is going on. You've now got Capitol Hill closed for a religious holiday, and then it will be pushed into next week. So already this timeline is extending. And as you heard our colleague Bev there saying, you know, out on the streets talking to people, what this means in real terms, right, is that it's the ordinary American people who are going to feel the pain of this ultimately, in particular, the 750,000 federal workers that are affected by this.
Yeah, and all in the run-up to Christmas as well, so let's hope it gets sorted as soon as possible, Sarah. Look, we wanted to ask you about this huge news out of the United States overnight, and a huge story here in Britain, of course, that the loss of Dame Jane Goodall at the age of 91. Just so sad.
It is so sad. I mean, she is legendary, isn't she? She's an anthropologist. She was a conservationist, but of course she was best known around the world as the Brit who was a primatologist and really revolutionized our understanding of chimpanzees. She did that and dedicated her whole life to it. She very sadly passed away in California. She was on a US speaking tour, and the institute that she founded, the Jane Goodall Institute, confirming that news on social media, saying she passed away of natural causes. And they also said that she really revolutionized science and our understanding of primates, and was a tireless advocate for the protection of the natural world. So, you know, her legacy lives on. You've seen the tributes absolutely pouring in. I think lots of clips emerging of her interviews that she gave in the past. Very touchingly, at one point here to US media, she'd spoken about being inspired when she was young by the film Tarzan. You know, it changed the course of her life, and it changed all of our lives for our understanding of our chimpanzees.
And Sarah, of course, we've seen lots of US politicians pay tribute to Jane Goodall. And of course, we saw a picture there, didn't we, of the President Joe Biden awarding her with the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Yes, she is has many, many accolades. And I think the reach of her legacy and the work that she did throughout her life is reflected in the fact that you've got everyone from former presidents to actors to superstars to the ordinary layperson like ourselves talking about this. You know, she touched so many lives. I don't think anyone can be unmoved by those incredible clips of her work out in the field with the chimpanzees. And she's really been credited with that incredible ability to listen, to watch, to be patient and lead with curiosity. I think there was a really lovely bit that she spoke at one point about what stood out for her the most in her experience in the wild all those years. And she said just how like us the chimpanzees are. So yeah, expect more tributes to be pouring in from around the world, because her reach really was that wide.
Yeah, what an incredible woman and what an incredible life. Sarah Fair, thank you for paying your own tribute there this morning. Thank you. I was reading this morning, there's some incredible obituaries in the papers today, and Jane Goodall, she had a good sense of humour as well, which I'm sure we're going to hear about throughout the morning. But she was talking about Tarzan and saying she thinks that Tarzan married the wrong Jane. It should have been Tarzan and Jane Goodall together.
So the first time, that is so good. The first time I ever heard about Jane Goodall was when I was a child watching the film George of the Jungle, which is kind of like a spin-off thing of Tarzan, and one of the characters in it said, "I feel like Jane Goodall," as she was surrounded by these primates, and then I obviously knew about Jane Goodall. And here is Jane Goodall hugging a chimpanzee who had been helped by her institution, a wildlife sanctuary that she owned. And you can just see, I think, the love she had for these animals, which she studied in the field for, you know, more than a decade. The longest ever field study she took part in, pioneering research in the 1960s. A female scientist really paving the way for the future of female scientists.
Incredible, isn't it? The chimpanzees loved her just as much as she loved those. I mean, it's so clear, isn't it? Amazing. Let us know what you think on Jane Goodall and how you're reacting to her death this morning. gbnews.com/you'll say. We'll try and share as many as we can throughout the programme. A British icon.
Definitely.
Best of us.
Now, if you're travelling to work or school, here is the traffic and travel update.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Be cautious crossing the A9 Kessock Bridge as high winds continue to disrupt driving. The M48 has imposed a 7.5-tonne weight limit for heavy goods vehicles, enforced from the 27th of May 2025 until further notice. In Lancashire, a recent road collision on the M55 westbound at Junction 2 has led to the closure of all lanes, with traffic expected to normalise by 11:30 this morning. Northern buses are replacing trains between Corkickle and Whitehaven, and there is disruption in the Castleford area, impacting TransPennine Express services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Now, still to come, Adidas lights up the Sphere in Las Vegas to tease the new World Cup football. We're going to be talking about that next.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, you can enjoy unlimited Great British Getaways with our latest giveaway. Your chance to win a brand new 4-berth motorhome worth over 75 grand, plus 30 grand in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Here's Haley Sparks.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof light, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now it's time to go through all the latest sports news with Paul Coit. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Champions League. I have a few bits of Champions League stuff for you. Union Saint-Gilloise. Which, you know...
Are French?
Well, nearly.
Oh.
They're
Belgian.
They're Belgian. They are Belgian. I don't think I'm on.
That was good.
Ah, very good, very good. Hopefully, are you back with us, Paul?
I'm back in the room. Union Saint-Gilloise, who are Belgian.
Yes.
0, Newcastle United 4. So very good result for Newcastle. 2 penalties, all very good. Arsenal beat Olympiacos of...
Greece.
Good. 2-0.
Well done. I'm glad you asked that question and not me.
I didn't see Cameron's face there for a second. I was like, what? and Monaco, who are from... Monaco. So why are they not called Monte Carlo? Because they play in Monte Carlo, and really, that's a country.
Great name.
Yes. So really, Monaco should be a country, not a team, if you follow me, although they play in the French League, of course. They drew 2-2 with Manchester City. Manchester City went over there. They were so much better, but Monaco got a disputed penalty in the 90th minute. Eric Dyer, he used to play for Tottenham, and went to Bayern Munich, and an England player as well. He was actually kicked in the face, although Pep Guardiola was not happy with the penalty. So when he was asked about how he thought about it, because sometimes you've got to be careful with referees, you can't say too much, this is what Pep had to say.
What have you said to the referee? Have you said anything to the referee about the penalty? What are you able to give us your opinion on?
No.
It looked like the whole bench were exceptionally angry about it.
Nothing to say to the Spanish referees.
Oh.
Pretty good, huh?
Yes.
So there's Pep's quote about the referee. I have nothing to say about the Spanish referees, but the thing is, that says it all.
Yes.
Doesn't it just?
Celtic have Sporting Braga tonight from Portugal. Feyenoord versus Aston Villa. Nottingham Forest play FC Midtjylland, who are from Denmark. And SK Puntingama, Sturm Graz from Austria, will play Rangers. It's longer to actually say the name than it is to play the game.
Yes, definitely. Paul, can I ask you about the BBC losing the boat race?
Yeah, you're not happy about this, are you?
Cameron's very upset about this.
You're not happy.
I love watching the boat race.
He cares deeply.
But the thing is, Cameron, I know you love watching the boat race, but I imagine you are at the boat race, not watching it on the TV. I imagine you're alongside the Thames with your pals, with a scarf, floating in the wind and a little drink. Is that fair?
Do you know, I've never actually watched it in real life, which is why I rely on the BBC to broadcast.
Is that right? So tell me then...
But it's so packed.
Well, the way I mean, the boat race has been going, like, forever. And it was always a huge thing to watch on TV, and I think the main reason for that is because there was so little sport on TV, live sport, whereas now there's so much. So really, it's kind of fallen by the wayside. So where we are now is that they've said they're not going to broadcast it anymore. I think it's a little elitist, whereas Channel 4, don't worry, you can watch it on Channel 4.
OK.
So they are going to show it, so everything's going to be fine.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much. We are going to have to cut you short, I'm afraid, because we're joined by Home Office Minister Mike Tapp, who joins us now. Very good morning to you, Mr Tapp.
Good morning, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And it sounds like the dark and the rain there in Westminster. Let's talk about Sir Keir Starmer pledging to end this golden ticket for asylum seekers. I mean, many people watching and listening will say, finally, what has taken so long? You've been in government 15 months. This is common sense, that they shouldn't have had greater rights, small boat migrants this is, than legal migrants and British citizens.
Well, look, we've inherited a real mess from the Conservatives. Firstly, open borders. We saw 400 cross in 2018, over 150,000 since, an immigration system that absolutely ground to a halt when it came to processing, and an unfair system. So it wasn't a level playing field. So what we're seeing here from the Prime Minister today is making it clear to those who are in Europe looking to claim asylum that we're not a soft touch and that you can't shop around. So we're levelling that playing field to make it fairer for the people of Britain, but of course offering that help to people that need it.
Yes, but 50,000 people have crossed the English Channel under your watch. I mean, this is an easy win. This is very obvious. Why has it taken you 15 months to even think about this as an idea?
Well, look, we made it really clear when we were elected and before the election that the priority here is smashing the gangs and taking on the evil, vile smuggling gangs to reduce those crossings. Now, we've started with those record increases in deportations and removals. We've also got returns agreements across the board, including with the French, which means that pull factor is reduced. We're looking at the ECHR, which is really important, and we're making sure that we're moving people out of MOD accommodation, out of hotel accommodation into MOD accommodation. So there's a lot going on here, but it does take time. It's only been, just over 12 months, and you'll start to see this have an impact over time. There's no doubt about that.
Mike, the Prime Minister has branded the small boats travelling across the English Channel as Farage boats. Do you stand by the Prime Minister on those comments, particularly when there's, of course, quite a lot of global drivers when it comes to illegal migration, millions being displaced across the world, particularly in Syria and Afghanistan, which doesn't really have much to do with Brexit, does it?
Well, look, it is a complex issue as to why those pull factors are there. This is one of them, which is why we're making more of a level playing field across Europe. But we can't deny the fact that in 2018, 400 crossed and over 150,000 since then, which is linked with the moment that we did leave the Dublin Agreement and with Brexit. But look, this isn't about bringing up those old arguments. This now is about getting on top of the problem, taking on the smuggling gangs, reducing those pull factors, but making sure we're doing it well and truly within our British values, which means we're being strong but also being decent, we're being firm but being fair, and creating a system that works for the British people. Look, and a part of that also is taking out illegal employers. We've increased those raids by around 50% so that British workers aren't being undercut. So there's a lot of work going on here across the board.
Mr Tapp, can I ask you about Nigel Farage's security? Because Reform UK are claiming that his taxpayer-funded security has been slashed by 75%. They're putting the blame on the Home Office. Can you confirm that Nigel Farage's taxpayer-funded security has been cut? And if so, why?
Well, look, Nigel Farage knows full well that the Home Office do not have responsibility for parliamentary and MP security. That's the independent parliamentary security body. So it's nothing to do with the Home Office, and he knows that. So what he's trying to do there is what he does well, is create more division. It's quite simply not true.
Mike, can I ask you about Baroness Michelle Mone? Of course, she has been linked to a company which has been ordered to pay the UK government back £122 million over failed PPE during the coronavirus pandemic. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has called for the peerage to be removed. What's your take on it?
Well, firstly, we've already recouped around 280 million. This is a further 120 million. The British people were scammed, so we've got to get that back, and that's what this government is working hard at. Look, when it comes to the peerage, that's not up to me to make that decision, but I think the Baroness should certainly consider that position.
But would you vote for that? Because, of course, to remove a peerage, it takes an Act of Parliament, which would require MPs to vote on it.
It does, and let's see what the Baroness decides to do. What I will say is that that behaviour is completely unacceptable, and we're standing up for the British people and working hard to get that money back.
OK. Mike Tapp, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast.
Right, still to come. Can't pay, they'll take your title away. A company, as we've been discussing with Mike Tapp there, linked to Baroness Michelle Mone, is ordered to repay the government millions for the COVID contract scandal. More on that with Alison Cork and Tim Vincent next.
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's where the sun is shining across Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you'd like to avoid Storm Amy and you're looking elsewhere across Europe, well, it's also unsettled in Greece and Turkey. Some very wet weather, as well as strong winds blowing through here. Those outbreaks of heavy rain will move through during the weekend, but certainly Friday's a soggy day. Italy, having seen that wet weather earlier in the week, turning drier, albeit still breezy. Plenty of fine weather through Iberia now, sunny spells. And for much of the Mediterranean, it is turning drier through the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
There's an interesting story, Charlie, in the Daily Mail. Two-year report that claims racism in the UK countryside is getting worse, with abuse normalised and tolerated. What do you think of this academic research?
Rubbish. Well, it's a load of old bunk. Yes, yeah. 2 years, as you say. 2 years to interview how many people? 115. It took 2 years.
Very scientific.
And this is where, people often ask about, what you do when you go to university, or the tuition fees that people have been paying. University of Leicester, where this report was undertaken, have funded this 2-year holiday spree by the sounds of things and cobbled something together at the end. 115 people, that's nobody. But they've asked the question about, do you feel that the countryside is effectively exclusive in any kind of particular way?
Well, let me read this out. The report also claimed that non-verbal cues, such as incessant staring and unfriendly body language, made individuals from ethnic minority backgrounds feel unwelcome.
And no Wellington boots.
That's probably what they were staring at, yes.
Walking shoes. I'm a man with certain vintage. I've never owned a pair of walking shoes.
I haven't got walking shoes. I've got Wellington boots.
I've never owned a pair of walking shoes. I've got a pair of wellies.
Well, there you go.
A pair of trainers.
So we'd both be OK in the countryside.
It does not impede on your appreciation of the countryside having walking shoes or not.
Well, it depends how far you have to walk.
It's pathetic. Haven't these universities got better things to do?
Well, you would have thought so. But the idea that, the countryside is now all of a sudden racist, or the rural communities and our great countryside is all of a sudden exclusive, as I say, it's ridiculous.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The time is 6:52. Joining us to go through the papers is entrepreneur and broadcaster Alison Cork and presenter and broadcaster Tim Vincent. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's start with Alison.
Yes.
Baroness Mone facing her peerage being removed.
Yes, well, I mean, where to start with this story?
Yes.
First of all, I think what's really interesting is that she is being asked to pay this money back. But what I noticed is that her company was put into administration the day before, I think it was, the judgment. So clearly there was a thought process there, which is perhaps we're going to lose this. And the law in this country is such that it's going to be quite hard to get that money back if that company has gone into administration. And I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong with that's something wrong with company law. Once you have a debt, you should be paying it back. Do I think she should give her title back? Absolutely, because there's a bigger point at stake here, which is people's faith in the institution of politics, and that is the upper house as well as the lower house. And there's a lot of talk about people not attending the upper house, their voting record. You know, Baroness Mone's voting record is not particularly good, and that was before she absented herself. But there are all sorts of little nuances. I mean, my understanding of the House of Lords is that if you resign, as opposed to you're booted out, you can still use your title. Oh. So it's very interesting little quirks. And I'm sort of very black and white, which is if you've done something which has been considered wrong by the court and, you know, you're in this very public-facing position and you are a person that other people should be looking up to for standards, then the answer is really quite clear. You shouldn't be in the House of Lords. You shouldn't be ennobled. You should disappear for a bit.
It's a travesty, though, I think, you know, just taking a step back. The more you read about it, the more eye-watering it is. The fact that that money was given without any checks and measures at the time. You know, even if you wanted to drive a car on the road as a citizen in this country, you have to have MOT, tax, insurance. 122 million is just given away to somebody with no backbone, no proof of what they were doing in any shape or form. I just think it's absolutely unbelievable that she's like... I think one of the papers today, I think it was the Metro, we were looking in the green room, says Mone, Mone, Mone. She doesn't take any responsibility, no culpability to any of the situations. I will say, though, in her speech, in her announcement after the ruling, even a stopped clock tells the correct time twice a day. And she does point out that nearly £10 billion was wasted by the government in bogus orders. It's not just her. Yeah. Where is this 10 billion gone? Why isn't that being claimed back? How were they allowed to do that? I know it was a global emergency, but that is an eye-watering amount of money. Other heads should be rolling, not just hers.
Exactly. I mean, you know, there was a story about a pub landlord who was given a £30 million contract by one of his regulars who happened to be the health secretary at the time. You know, and you do have to question relationships like that. I mean,
but also put us back in 2020. We were all at home listening to all the orders that we weren't allowed to do this. We were all making our own masks and doing all like little, you know, lambs listening to everybody. And meanwhile, all these big boys were making loads of money, doing all these stupid things behind the door, jobs for the boys, which I find appalling. I hope more people will be found responsible for that 10 billion.
And I think it makes the British people very, very angry. And this story makes people very, very angry, which lies on the front page of most of the papers.
Although Michelle Mone, but Michelle Mone does say it's a travesty of justice and an establishment win. But of course, let us know what you think on that. gbnews.com/your say. And lots more coming up on the show, so stay with us.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M48, a weight restriction for vehicles over 7.5 tonnes is in place until further notice. In Essex, drivers on the A12 northbound should expect lane closures between junction 11 and 12 due to a police incident, with normal traffic anticipated by 7:45 this morning. In Lancashire, the M55 westbound exit slip at junction 2 is closed after a collision, with normal conditions expected shortly after noon today. And on the trains, buses replace Northern Line services between Corkicle and Whitehaven. Thameslink services face delays at Sevenoaks and between St Albans City and London St Pancras International. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The Prime Minister promises asylum seekers will no longer have a golden ticket to Britain.
As he prepares to meet European leaders in Copenhagen to discuss tackling illegal migration.
But is the threat of reform why the government has chosen that now is the right time to declare that asylum rules are not fit for purpose?
Well, earlier we spoke to Home Minister Mike Tapp on the matter.
For those who are in Europe looking to claim asylum, that we're not a soft touch and that you can't shop around. So we're levelling that playing field to make it fairer for the people of Britain.
Britain will no longer be a soft touch. That's the message that the Prime Minister is trying to send today here in Copenhagen, where dozens of leaders gathering for the European political community. Security here is absolutely incredible. I'll bring you more details shortly.
After the Prime Minister labelled small boats crossing the Channel as Farage boats, we're going to be debating if the Reform leader has become a scapegoat for the illegal migration crisis. That's at 7:20 this morning.
Pressure mounts on Conservative peer Michelle Mone to step down from the House of Lords over her role in a COVID contract scandal.
Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch vows to rip up climate change laws if she ever becomes Prime Minister. We'll be putting that to the Shadow Energy Secretary later this morning.
The US President Donald Trump warns of serious consequences if the government shutdown continues. Here's what Vice President J.D. Vance had to say.
Do the right thing, open up the people's government, and then let's fix healthcare policy for the American people.
Tributes are pouring in from around the world for Dame Jane Goodall, the pioneering chimpanzee expert who has died aged 91.
And sport this morning, Arsenal and Newcastle both win in the Champions League, while Manchester City concede a late penalty to draw in Monaco. There's accusations of sour grapes from the US, of course, from the USPGA over Europe's Ryder Cup win. And a question, what is the Trionder? Well, you can see what the Trionder is, but when is the Trionder and why is it called the Trionder?
Storm Amy arrives tomorrow night, but before Amy hits the UK, we're going to see some impactful rainfall across northwestern parts of the country later today. Full details coming up in the forecast.
Good morning, it's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Cameron Walker, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Coity, how's your couch to 5K going, that journey?
Oh, so I'm now off the couch.
Oh, good.
And
Good start.
I'm now run number 2. So the first run is like 30. I mean, this is it. I get so far and then I stop, and then I'm back to couch.
Well, how far are you running?
Not very far, Cameron.
Okay.
Not very far. It's like a minute.
Yes.
And then you walk for a minute and a half. Then it's a minute, and then walk for a minute. See, the thing is, I've done it before, and then it's 9 weeks, and then you go right the way through, and then eventually you do the 5K. But I get through about 2 weeks, and then I can't get myself. Do you run?
I do run. I do.
I bet you run, don't you?
Not far. I do love to run. Yes. I don't do more than 10K, though. I get bored.
That's a long run.
Oh, my goodness. I don't do more than 10K.
Well, I'm not, well,
God, I hate you for this.
That's a very rare occasion. My usual is between 5 and 7, so I do run club every Thursday.
It's even in a run club.
It's a run club. Well, a very casual run club. It ends at the pub. That's the motivation.
Yes,
so you do a 7K run. One of our producers actually also does that run club. You do a 7K run, then you end up at the pub, and you all have a couple of pints. It's great. That's motivation to do some running. All the calories you burn off running, you then put back on with pints of lager.
But Cameron, I know what you're going to say. You're going to go, well, I only came 7th in the World Championship. So, you know, it's like...
Yeah.
So that's good. So what advice would you give to me then? Just keep going.
Well, I think keep going, as you're saying, Paul, and also little baby steps. And then when you get to the 5K...
Now you're patronising me.
Just keep going.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And listening to music really helps.
See, I can't do the ears thing.
What, really?
You need the over-the-head headphones.
I find it just kind of like throws me, and I feel as if I'm all a bit discombobulated.
So I don't
big
think...
ones.
Well, yeah.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
No, because then I get too hot. I like the little ear ones.
They look cool.
But I don't think I can run without music in my ears.
And what music is it usually?
Well, fast, upbeat pop music. Something that's going to motivate you.
Fine, OK.
There you go.
OK.
Let us know how you get along.
Next one is tomorrow.
Oh, yes, do let us know.
And I'll just meet you at the pub, I think.
Yeah, you can come to the pub, Ellie.
You wouldn't even catch me running down the driveway.
What about I start at the pub and then go after the pub?
You could, that would be a lot.
I'll just stay at the pub and you guys can go for a lap and I'll see you there after.
Definitely. Well, let us know if you have been doing the Couch to 5K or another run, gbnews.com/your say.
Now, 5 minutes past 7, and to our top story this morning, the Prime Minister is promising to put an end to what he's calling the golden ticket asylum system.
Yes, Sir Keir Starmer has admitted the current rules are not fit for purpose and says they give greater rights to asylum seekers than migrants who enter legally.
Well, those changes are among the topics set to be discussed by European leaders in Copenhagen today, with the Prime Minister hoping to use the meeting to secure stronger border cooperation.
Well, joining us now is the former political advisor Charlie Rowley. Charlie, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I mean, on the surface, it sounds like pretty good news from the government, but I think what a lot of people are going to be asking is, how is it for so long British citizens had less rights than asylum seekers?
Well, I think that is absolutely the question lots of people will be asking, and they won't have missed that this is probably yet another U-turn by the Prime Minister, and all the rhetoric and all the fuss that you've heard from years, from particularly the left, particularly from the Labour Party, about how terrible that we all are. If we dare question or challenge the people that come into this country, particularly through those small boat crossings, which are over 50,000 on this Prime Minister's watch since he came in about 15 months ago. So how has it been the case that people have been able to get priority, get to the front of the queue of things, get that £50 a week, get that sort of hotel accommodation, all the things that lots of people have been saying, and branded far right, by the way, by this Prime Minister, now has woken up, smelt the coffee this morning after 15 months and decided that actually maybe the British public, the overwhelming majority of the British public, have been right on this issue.
Or is this just a response to Reform UK? Do you think?
Well, it's got to be, because they are ahead in the polls consistently now by over 10 points. And so, you know, when you've got a Conservative Party that was in government previously coming up to their conference that failed to tackle illegal and legal migration after years of saying that they're going to bring it down to the tens of thousands, Labour coming into office on a loveless majority, it has to be said. Turnout was incredibly low, but they did get a huge majority, but have failed to understand the British public's mood when it comes to things like immigration, and that's why Reform have been able to fill that vacuum.
Can I ask you about Baroness Michelle Mone, who, of course, is linked to a PPE company who paid money was paid money by the UK government during the pandemic for, we now know is faulty PPE, and has been ordered to pay back £122 million to the UK government. How on earth did that happen back in the day?
Well, look, I think it's important to say that anybody who was awarded a government contract that hasn't fulfilled that contract should absolutely pay that money back. There's no doubt about it. Anybody that swindled the government, anybody that committed fraud in any sense, has to pay that money back and has to pay the price.
Well, she would deny she committed fraud. She says it was a travesty of justice and an establishment win.
Well, and she's entitled to those words. But anybody that does commit fraud in general should be banged to rights and have to pay the money back. The difficult thing about this situation is, look, in a pandemic, people were working at pace, so there were obviously going to be contracts in any event that were issued that might not have been fulfilled, where when you've got to get things in quickly, you might have overpaid a price. From the UK government paid over and above what it might have otherwise would have done. That's no criticism. I think people would rather have the equipment and the PPE than not. However, it's got to be the right PPE. And if somebody has failed to deliver on that contract, then as I say, they should pay that money back. But there was, we've got to get away from this idea, and I know it's sort of festered. There is no VIP lane. Michelle Mone wasn't awarded a contract because she knew people in government. Everybody had to go through that 8-stage process of a procurement team, making sure that you could meet the requirements. So it wasn't ministers awarding those contracts.
She was lobbying ministers, though.
Well, she was. I think she says she wrote to my old boss, Michael Gove. But it's. I think we've got to understand the context of a pandemic, whereby if, for example, had I known either of you before the pandemic, and you had messaged me as a special advisor and said, Charlie, actually, you two seem to be quite credible people that might have interviewed a lot of people and business people. You will have a lot of contacts. In a pandemic, if you said to me, Charlie, actually, we know someone that we've interviewed that can produce equipment for the NHS at a time when it's really on its knees and it needs all the help that it can get, then I would have passed that on to officials, and I would have said, look, actually, can we look into this? And they would have had to go through the 8-stage process of the same as everybody else. But it wouldn't have me been saying, oh, yeah, let's just give them a contract. So we've got to get that right. But, anybody that fails to deliver on any contract that's awarded absolutely has to pay that money back.
OK. Charlie Rowley, good to see you as always. Thank you very much.
Now it's time for your weather with Aidan McGibbon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office. Storm Amy has been named, likely to hit the UK during Friday night. But for the start of today, it's a fine start for many of us. Largely cloudy before some heavy rain turns up across the northwest. Now, this rain isn't Storm Amy, but it is just ahead of the storm, and it's likely to bring some impacts to western Scotland, where we've already had some very wet weather through the week. That rain eased off overnight, but it turns heavier and more persistent once again through Northern Ireland and western Scotland by the afternoon. With the breeze here as well, it's going to be an unpleasant afternoon. But elsewhere, any mist patches soon clearing. Bright enough for the Midlands, the south and southeast of England, and feeling warm once again with relatively light winds. That won't be the case for much of Scotland as we end the day. The heavy rain moves into the north and parts of eastern Scotland as well. It continues through the west with another 50 to 80 millimetres of rain over western Scotland during the next few days, on top of what's already fallen this week. Risk of localised flooding. Northern Ireland also seeing a very wet rush hour. West Wales and Cornwall at this stage starts to see the rain, and it's during the night that the main swathe of winds and rain moves through across the UK. So a lively night of weather for many of us. Wet and windy, some heavy rain out there for a few hours before eventually, as dawn breaks tomorrow, those outbreaks of rain affecting East Anglia and the southeast, the far north of Scotland as well, but drier elsewhere and a very mild night to come. A notable difference stepping outside in the south first thing compared with the much cooler mornings we've seen so far this week. And actually there's a relatively fine spell of weather in between systems during Friday itself. Some spells of sunshine come through across central and eastern parts, feeling warm once again, but you can see outbreaks of rain already by now reaching western areas, and the wind picks up as Storm Amy arrives.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
The time is 7:12. The Culture Secretary has reignited the row over trans athletes competing in women's sports, despite the Supreme Court's ruling on gender earlier this year.
Yes, Lisa Nandy has claimed there are some sports where trans women can compete alongside biological women.
Well, joining us now is the Diversity and Inclusion Facilitator, Katie John Went. Katie, good morning to you. I think there will be quite a lot of concern with the Culture Secretary's comments because, of course, biological women have voiced issue with the fact that trans women sometimes play in women's sports and gives them an unfair advantage. And yes, of course, the Culture Secretary appears to be suggesting she's not going to be completely staying true to the Supreme Court ruling earlier this year. What's your take on it?
Well, I mean, she's talked about the fact that there's got to be inclusion, fairness and safety. And I understand the position of fair play for women and others who've spoken about safety first, followed by fairness. I mean, I think personally, actually, I shifted my position on this actually through a number of debates on GP News over the last few years with Sharon Davies and others, actually, in realising that fairness actually comes first. And it's not just the physical advantage, it's simply the space for women's sports that has kind of historically existed and had to be historically created because they weren't normally given that original access to sports competitions or even the freedom to play. We know how late and long it took football to kind of allow women, and yet now they're one of our proudest achievements. And so I do think that it's right that we need to do inclusion, but I think it's more the fact that trans people, like any other human being, need access to physical fitness and activity because it's good for physical health, it's good for mental health. How do we even do that when the Supreme Court judgment, which was originally quite a limited judgment about women on boards in Scotland, but has now made the rather obvious statement that sex is sex, and we know what a man is and we know what a woman is, even if all the politicians still struggle to say what that is. At the end of the day, if that is rippled through every aspect of life, then it does mean that, you know, changing rooms and sports should be aligned by what sex is in that sense. But there are when she says there are some where it doesn't matter, I think the some where it doesn't matter are things like chess. Everything else, I think you will find that whilst it may be safe, it may be that there isn't a huge male advantage. There is an economic male advantage in every sport because male sport has been invested in for longer and for better and given more airtime and given more, will have had more invested in him before he even, for example, transitions. So I think it's about fairness primarily, even if you could prove there was no physical advantage in a particular sport. I think actually that the clock has changed on this, and I don't know whether it's saying the clock is going backwards, you know, but it's changed.
The Culture Secretary has also been speaking and suggesting perhaps that it should be down to the individual sporting governing bodies to set the rules, to decide if trans athletes should be involved in that particular women's sports. What do you think on that? Do you think it should be down to the sporting bodies, or do you think we should be able to legislate on this?
I mean, I've spoken to some of those involved in some sports around that, and I've heard the genuine human struggle of saying, well, look, you know, we've got two professional trans rugby players or whatever it is, and it is an absolute minority. It's a minority within even trans. The percentages are so low, but the thing is, the news headlines big up those a dozen or so stories around the world that, you know, the cyclist, the swimmer, the X, the Y, the weightlifter. They've never kind of taken over all the Olympic medals or anything like that. So there isn't a mad rush, a mad trans kind of takeover of all of that. And you get these occasional stories and they are blown out of proportion. But that said, those bodies where it is already working, shall we say, and it has done for the last 10 to 20 years, but the legal and the cultural social shift has happened, and it sucks, but it's sad for those who've been playing with the acceptance of their teammates. Because don't get me wrong, if they hadn't accepted it, they would have been out anyway for different reasons. But I think, yeah, it's going to have to change. And I think also the fact that it's changing at an international level as well means that the national bodies will eventually have to comply, because if those national bodies then become parts of international teams, then clearly then the person might rise up through an local competition, national competition, and then when it gets to being part of Team GB or an international game, then they can't participate, and then that's also crushing and not fair as well. So I do think there are community games. I mean, where I live in Norwich, we have an inclusive rugby club and things like that, which is inclusive of all LGBTQ players, etc. I think if a local club, a local community game sets out from the beginning that it's inclusive and then people play in that inclusive league, then that's fine.
Yes. OK, diversity and inclusion facilitator Casey John Wentz, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, here's what the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, said in relation to trans women in this story. She says, we're going to be led by the sporting bodies in this, but we want to make sure that they're as inclusive as possible. But we understand there are limits to how possible that is in some sports. Sporting bodies are working really hard and thoughtfully to make sure that we get the right approach, and we're supporting them with this.
Right, the time is 18 minutes past 7, and still to come after the Prime Minister called small boats crossings the channel Farage boats. We'll be debating if the Reform leader is being scapegoated over the migrant crisis. That's next on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, welcome back. You could enjoy unlimited Great British Getaways with our latest Great British Giveaway. Your chance to win a brand new 4-berth motorhome worth over £74,000, plus a whopping 30 grand in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Here are all of the details that you need.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Best of luck with that. Now, Sir Keir Starmer has blamed the ongoing migrant crisis on Brexit and Reform UK leaders Nigel Farage.
Yes, in an interview with GB News' political editor Christopher Hope yesterday, the Prime Minister branded the small boats crossing the Channel as Farage boats. Let's take a listen.
The returns agreement with France is important because we need to establish that if you come by boat, you will be returned to France. I accept the numbers are low. We had to prove the concept and prove that it could work. We've now done that, but now we need to ramp that up. I would gently point out to Nigel Farage and others that before we left the EU, we had a returns agreement with every country in the EU, and he told the country make no difference if we left. Well, he was wrong about that. These are Farage boats in many senses that are coming across the Channel.
Well, it begs the question, is Nigel Farage being used as a scapegoat for the small boat crisis?
Well, let's debate this now with Conservative councillor Matthew Goodwin-Freeman and founder of the Sanctuary Foundation, Dr Krish Kandiah. Morning, gentlemen. Matthew, let's start with you. Do you think Nigel Farage is being used as a scapegoat over small boats?
I absolutely do. You cannot mix up timelines and dates with the reality of what's going on. Yes, the small boats started coming over after Brexit, but that's because before Brexit, people were coming over in the back of lorries. And we as the government did a lot to clamp down on that, make a deterrent that if you come over in the back of a lorry, you're illegal. And people stopped doing that and started looking at other ways. It's completely wrong to say that Nigel Farage is to blame for this. He's one of the first people to point out the small boats crisis. I remember that video of him on a boat out in the Channel pointing out what was going on. So it's very convenient for Labour to start pointing the finger at Reform. They've realised that the battle is with Reform for the keys of government, and it's just anything they can say to grab headlines at the moment. I think it's just not right. They need to deal with the issue, stop pointing the finger.
Chris, what do you think?
Well, Nigel Farage and the Brexit campaign made lots of promises around Brexit. You might remember that picture of Nigel standing in front of thousands of migrants that were coming this way. And he promised that leaving the European Union would end that flow of people. Well, actually, the lack of returns arrangements makes it harder to send people who have failed their asylum claim back to the country they've come from. So I do think Nigel does need to take some responsibility, although I am nervous about political sloganeering when it comes to people who are fleeing war and terror. So I'm not sure about the comment Farage's boats.
What do you make of that, Matthew? I mean, did we lose those returns deals with those European countries when obviously we Brexited, if you will?
Well, the frustration is the fact that what Nigel Farage would argue is Brexit hasn't been used to the full of its abilities. I'm happy to hold my hands up and say that the Conservative government didn't use Brexit to the full of its good, couldn't organise, returns at all. We did have a deterrent, and before anyone starts saying that, we didn't, we had the Rwanda plan that had a drop of 33% already in numbers before a flight even took off. So there was a deterrent that Labour could have kept going until they worked out their own one and then scrap it. But instead, they scrapped it on day one of coming into government. And since then, we've seen 55,000 people come over, 35,000 this year alone. It's on track to be the worst year in history. But instead, we've seen 3 flights go off to France with, I think it's 3 migrants and 4 journalists or something. So, look, the point is that Brexit has given this country the ability to do deals however it wants, to go out and do what it wants in the world. We need to actually implement that. And the Conservatives didn't, and we got kicked out of office. Labour aren't. And so I think what we're seeing now is people exploiting the ability to come here easily, exploiting the fact that Labour are soft touch on illegal immigration, and actually worried that Nigel Farage and Reform might form the next government and will stop the small boats crisis, so probably are coming over quicker.
Chris, does Matthew have a point here? Of course, the Labour government have been in power now for well over a year. How long are they going to continue to blame Nigel Farage for a referendum which happened almost 10 years ago, voted for by 52% of the population, when they're the ones who actually have to implement policies to stop the small boats?
So I think Brexit was more complicated than people thought. We didn't get all that money to spend back on the NHS, and we made it harder to send people back.
We invested more than £350 million a week on the NHS, so that's
Matthew
not
let
true.
Dr. Chris speak. He let you speak.
They didn't have the opportunity to return people as we thought we might. So I think it has been complicated and it's had long-term consequences. We mentioned the Rwanda deal. That was incredibly expensive and it punished people for trying to come to our country rather than punishing the traffickers or smugglers. So I think we were punishing the wrong people. It's like punishing punishing rape victims rather than rapists. So I do think we have a problem. Like 14 years of the Conservative government wasn't able to kind of put a handle on a fair and just immigration system. Labour is struggling now. And we've just seen the news of Labour's new, I think, draconian measures that stop people who have the right to claim asylum, who are refugees, from being reunited with their family. I'm worried in the middle of all this, we're losing sight of the human stories in the middle of this. People that are fleeing war and terror, not being able to be seen quickly and fairly. And I think that's the big problem that we're losing. And I hate the politics around this. I wish we could take a more compassionate and reasonable approach that returns people who don't have the right to claim asylum, but does provide refuge for those who really need it.
Matthew, would you like to come back on some of Chris's points?
Yes, so just to fact check, we spent more than £350 million a week on the NHS after Brexit, so that money has actually been delivered into the NHS like was promised on the side of the bus. The problem is no one realises that, and the Conservatives should have banged more about the fact that actually we have done that. So just to fact check that. But on the point about people fleeing war, absolutely. We all think people fleeing war need to be supported. But where are the women and children? It is young men who are coming over on the small boats because the second that they get here, they try and claim asylum and then try bring their family over. Now, the problem is that that plays perfectly into the smuggling gangs, plays perfectly into their business model. And if we had a way where we could set up maybe embassies or we could set up centres where people could claim asylum there, I'd like to see the women and children first. And I think the general British public would want to see that too. You know, the Titanic, women and children only. It's in our DNA that you put the most vulnerable first. And we're not seeing the women and children coming over, despite the claims of several Labour ministers that there are the majority of them are women and children. It's not happening. So I agree with you on that human front, but we're not seeing it. Instead, we're seeing young men coming over, being propped up in hotels. More hotels now are opening than were under the Conservatives. We probably would have closed all the hotels now if we'd got back into government the rate we were going. And British public are fed up. We're fed up of this. At a time where taxes are going up, we're seeing benefits being cut, winter fuel being cut. We're probably going to see pensions taxed at the budget and more tax rises. We're just fed up of it, frankly. It's not our job to deal with everybody else's problems. Maybe France, maybe other countries should start taking these people in before they come to the UK.
OK. Gentlemen, we're out of time with you. Thank you very much indeed. Matthew, just before we let you go, you are a Conservative councillor, speaking very warmly there about Nigel Farage. Do you think potentially you could be a future defector?
I get asked this every time. I've always come on shows and been happy to hold my hand up and say the Conservatives messed up. We have to get our act together and then we'll see what happens. But, you know, if that means that I'm warm to reform, then fine. I'm just caring about being honest and open of the mistakes that the Conservatives made.
It's not a no.
No, it wasn't a denial.
OK. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you
very much indeed. Let us know what you think on that one. gbnews.com/you'll say.
Right, still to come, Greta Thunberg has been arrested by the Israeli Navy on her way to Gaza in a flotilla carrying aid, and we'll be going through that in the papers shortly.
But first, Adidas lights up the Sphere in Las Vegas to tease the new World Cup football. We're going to be taking a look at that next.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M48 has a 7.5-tonne weight restriction for heavy goods vehicles, effective from the 27th of May until further notice. In Lancashire, the M55 westbound exit slip at Junction 2 is closed due to a road traffic collision, with all lanes shut. Meanwhile, in Greater London, an incident on the M25 anti-clockwise between junction 28 and junction 27 has closed one of 4 lanes, causing delays of about 20 minutes. And on the trains, services by Avanti West Coast and Cross Country are experiencing disruptions between Stafford and Wolverhampton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the
unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Welcome back. The time is 7:35. It's time to go through the latest sport now with Paul Coitz. Paul, good morning to you. Champions League last night.
Union Saint-Gilloise, which we know are from Belgium, 0 Newcastle 4.
Chips and the chocolate.
Correct.
Oh.
And
Chips from Belgium, not from
René Magritte is another one.
Oh, I don't know.
He's famous from famous Belgian.
Oh.
And Tintin as well.
Oh, yeah.
And Union Saint-Gilloise. So Newcastle won 4-0 there, 2 penalties, a very good result for them. Arsenal beat Olympiacos 2-0.
Of Greece.
Correct. And Monaco 2, Man City 2. Hotly disputed penalty where Eric Dyer got sort of kicked in the face, really, playing for Monaco. Aww. So a penalty was given. He took it, scored, 90th minute. So not very... Have we got Pep? Should we hear Pep again?
Because
it's very quick. And I kind of like when Pep was asked about a penalty, because sometimes if a manager goes off too much about a bad decision, they can get fined. Pep is the smarter type of manager. Here he is.
What have you said to the referee? Have you said anything to the referee about the penalty? What are you able to give us your opinion on?
No.
It looked like the whole bench were exceptionally angry about it.
Nothing to say to the Spanish referees.
Spanish referees.
Well, considering he's Spanish as well, he could probably say that.
He can.
He has nothing to say. So
very diplomatic of him.
Whereas his silence speaks the words that he didn't say.
Speaks volumes.
Well, and his facial expression.
Yes.
Yes.
Says it all.
Should we talk about the Ryder Cup? And no surprise, really, the US are not.
You know,
they're a bit bitter, aren't they?
Let's face it, they've been horrible, haven't they? Honestly, at Bethpage Black in New York, the fans were horrible. They're still trying to defend it and saying, well, you know, that's we were just cheering and that's how the Ryder Cup is, and it was the same in Italy a couple of years ago. It really wasn't. Don Ray is the man who's the PGA president, so the Professional Golf Association, so they oversee all golf in America. So he said about the vile heckles of Rory McIlroy and his wife because a beer was thrown and she got hit with a beer, and they are standing there shouting, you, Rory, as a whole collective. It was horrendous. You would never get that here. He said it's the same as you would hear at a youth soccer game.
Well, I was going to say, it's not the kind of etiquette you usually have on a golf course.
Well, really, to be honest with you, Cameron, it's not really the etiquette. You wouldn't even have that at football like that. You wouldn't. It was that bad.
True.
Keegan Bradley, the captain of the American side, said, I wasn't at Rome. I think it wasn't in Rome, actually. But I heard a lot of stories that Rome was pretty violent as well. So he's trying to justify what happened in America. A, you can't justify it, and B, it wasn't like that. And players have just said it's complete nonsense. Matt Fitzpatrick, saying he was there, and when the trophy was handed over, just said that you could see the bitterness, and there was just no... They just were not very gracious about it. So it was just... It's just horrible, really.
Speaking of the United States, in Las Vegas, the Sphere, the World Cup football, what's going on there?
There's a new World Cup football.
Is there?
There is.
I didn't know there was...
Look
World
at this.
Cup
This is the Sphere in Vegas. And if you can see this, the Sphere, how would you describe it? It's just a huge building, isn't it? And they have shows inside there. So where you can see a ball spinning, see, that's the 1978
So it's a big projection, isn't it, on a big sphere?
It looks like it's just a ball that's spinning, but this is a huge, huge building with this, you know, and then you've got the projection of the different Adidas footballs for the World Cup over the years. And there's been many of them, and they're all... You've got the Tango from 78, the Azteca from 86, the Tricolor from 98, the Jabulani from 2010. So the new one is called the Trionda. And those would know that it's Spanish for tri-wave, as I'm sure you realise, and the reason it's called the tri-wave is because of the three host nations, Ellie.
Oh, I see.
Who are Canada, Mexico, and the USA, and it is stitched together. Can we see the ball? I think we've actually
I'd like to see the ball.
Have we got the ball? I think we should have actually seen the ball instead of the spinning things. It's stitched together from just 4 panels, and to let you know, there were 20 panels in the Al Hrila ball, 2022. There it is, just 3 panels.
Very bright and colourful, isn't it?
It is, but it's based on a tetrahedron. I feel like I'm Fred Dinage doing How. Made from 4 triangles that meet at every point. And apparently it's very lovely, and it's going to be released by Adidas today, and that is the new World Cup ball for 2026.
Lovely.
The Trionda.
Very
Lovely.
Nice. Thanks for bringing that to us, Coity.
That was pretty interesting, wasn't it?
Very good.
It was physics and maths and football all in one go.
And you know we love a fun fact.
I know you do.
You got any birthdays for us today?
We do that in the next hour.
Yes,
8:30.
can't wait. Favourite game of the morning. Thank you very much.
Here we go. Still to come, find out why Health Secretary Wes Streeting wants to be remembered as an onion.
Yes.
Very odd. More on that with Alison Cork and Tim Vincent's next. But first, if you're in some search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you'd like to avoid Storm Amy and you're looking elsewhere across Europe, well, it's also unsettled in Greece and Turkey. Some very wet weather, as well as strong winds blowing through here. Those outbreaks of heavy rain will move through during the weekend, but certainly Friday's a soggy day. Italy, having seen that wet weather earlier in the week, turning drier, albeit still breezy. Plenty of fine weather through Iberia now, sunny spells. And for much of the Mediterranean, it is turning drier through the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
For anybody who doesn't know, Huntington's is a rare neurological disorder. It affects the body, mind, and the whole system through a faulty gene passed down through families. It just causes absolute havoc. It affects everything, every part of you, and it's in the most horrendous way. And the knock-on effect of all the families it affects is enormous. It really is. So.
Well, as we heard there from the professor, he says this changes everything. Is that how you see this, as a major breakthrough?
Absolutely. I mean, this is what we've been hoping for, but, you know, we're a pretty realistic bunch as well, but we, you know, just, yeah, I still can't believe it, to be perfectly honest. I keep pinching myself and thinking, oh my God, you know, is this actually happening? Because that's how much it means, you know, it really does. We'll try and do our bit for charities and, you know, raise the funds for UCL so they can do these amazing trials and get involved as much as we can, but still.
I mean, it's not as straightforward as having an injection or taking a pill. I mean, I've read that it involves an 18-hour operation during which this particular drug is actually injected into the brain and starts to affect the DNA.
18 hours of brain surgery. I'd take 180 hours of brain surgery over the horrors that lie ahead with Huntington's disease. So, yeah, you know, to some people it might sound pretty grueling, but actually it's just the most exciting thought, having the opportunity given to us to be in this position, to go to surgery and, you know, make a real difference.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. We're going through the papers now with entrepreneur and broadcaster Alison Cork and the presenter and broadcaster Tim Vincent. Morning, you two. Good to have you with us. Tim, let's start with this story. I'm so upset about this news. Dame Jane Goodall has died at the age of 91.
Absolutely, and it's a sad moment for a lot of people. You were a big fan of hers and for everything that she represented. Yeah, the animal rights campaigner Dame Jane Goodall has died aged 91. Whilst working, she was doing a tour of the US for her charitable foundation. Of course, everybody knows, even I, you know, I'm not a huge expert on her, but know she's associated with chimpanzees. But of course, gave them names, said that they had personalities, and really blurred the line between animals and humans. It's interesting. In the last few years, she moved over to climate change, though. That she thought, you know, let's protect the environment for these animals. But everybody has been coming out today. You know, and she was appointed a Dame in 2025. She received the US presidential Medal of Freedom. She's touched so many people in so many ways. I wonder really if she was happy with the quest that she accomplished in her time, because a lot of the issues that she's raised are still there.
But do you know what I think? She, for me, is an example of a life well lived. And, you know, I often think when I get to the end of my time on this earth, I want to be able to look back and say, you know, I'm satisfied with what I did and how I felt about myself for doing those things. And you know, she lived her passion, and I don't think you can ask for more than that in life.
And the world is different because she has been here.
Yes.
I mean, the things that she discovered, the things she found out, I mean, it's never been seen before, never been documented before.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. And I think, you know, the difficulty is that with all this focus, everybody's focus on politics at the moment, because we're living in such an angry world, that people like Dame Jane, you know, they get sidelined, and we need to focus on these people who are doing things that actually affect our very ability to exist on this planet, you know, our relationship with nature. If we destroy that relationship, we do not exist. And I think we are in danger of really forgetting that, because there's so many other things crowding the headlines.
And of course, she was such a female pioneer for science as well.
In the 60s, 60s. I mean, she was a female scientist operating and working.
Somebody's bound to make a movie because she looked so fantastic when she was younger, wasn't she?
Photogenic. Fantastic, and being 90 as well.
91, absolutely. Well, hopefully that somebody will make a fitting tribute to her.
Yeah, well, let's hope so.
Speaking of angry politics, I'm afraid, Alison. Yes. The Prime Minister is saying asylum seekers are no longer going to have a golden ticket when it comes to their rights and bringing their families to the UK.
OK. Well, I mean, first and foremost, this smacks of political convenience. You know, where was the comprehensive, consistent policy from day one? I mean, there are some positives here, which is it's going to make people think about coming here because they're not going to have that automatic right to bring their families. And, you know, I think it's that really gets other people quite upset when you see families who are brought over and housed disadvantaging people like war veterans. I mean, we have war veterans standing outside our local supermarket trying to raise money for their colleagues. And I think it's outrageous that they're not being prioritised for housing. Completely outrageous. Why are we not looking after those people who, first and foremost, have done everything their country asked of them? And that, I think, is, you know, where this all falls apart. There's just this deep sense of injustice, and therefore, fine, you're saying it now, but why didn't you say it from the beginning? Where was your conviction?
It just seems such common sense, doesn't it? It's such an easy win for the government.
But I think our Prime Minister's very reactionary at the moment. He comes up with ideas from, you know, the amount of airtime he's given to Nigel Farage recently is amazing from one man. And you think, concentrate on your own policies. And we were talking backstage, weren't we? Backstage, but in the green room. Where are the statesmen? Where are the people that are making political statements that is the benefit of everybody, even if people don't like it, and let's stick to what we are saying. And like all these rules, regulations, banner headlines that come in, personally, let's do that. Let's do what you're saying, but let's have some transparency about it. Let's see what you're actually doing here. Is this actually going to make a difference to anybody? Because as bad as it is here, and how bad it is, if that's up to debate, it's a lot worse in America and what's going on with ICE and the amount of immigrants and what is happening in every major city in that country.
But to your point, Tim, you know, if one, and you know, I know Margaret Thatcher was polarising, but if you just put a picture of her cabinet next to a picture of current-day cabinets, the difference in gravitas and experience, life experience, and even one could say, you know, how serious people are these days about truly doing public service, you know, for the right reasons. Huge difference in those two.
Just look at the longevity of the cabinet of Heseltine and Thatcher and Tebbit, who recently passed away. They were in there for 10, 12 years at a time. Now it's like a Rolodex. You can't keep up with who's there on either side of the parties.
Yeah, true.
Well, Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp is calling all of this a gimmick from a Labour government. The fact is, the Conservatives were in power for 14 years and did nothing about this.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, to be fair, that's absolutely true. I can't, you know, can't defend that.
We all agree with that.
Can't defend it.
Where do you go with that?
Where do you go with that? But that really sort of reinforces my point that because a lot of things are at the expense of political convenience and what do I need to say today to sort of nudge ahead in the polls and sort of suppress that person's opinion, that we're not seeing any long-term view of politics. You know, I've always said that the National Health Service, actually, the way to deal with that is to agree between political parties that there is a 30-year plan and that cannot be deviated from, regardless of who is in power. And then you might see some consistent change.
Alison, why does the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, wish to be an onion?
I don't know, because I'd want to be broccoli. Because broccoli is the superfood and it is the smart vegetable.
Front of a star for those of you who are wondering why we're referring to Wes Streeting as an onion.
Yeah,
there you go.
Wes Streeting superimposed onto an onion there. Yep. Great.
No, I definitely want to be broccoli because it is the smart, healthy vegetable, but I'm afraid that most of them are potatoes. They're stodgy. And
you've obviously never met turmeric. It's much better. Who was the political figure that was the turnip? Who got a lot of bad publicity and was praised as the turnip for many years? No, certainly for a while.
Well, this is all in reference, actually, to Liz Truss and the lettuce. The lettuce was on the front page of the Daily Star. You remember who would survive longer, Liz Truss or the lettuce?
Yeah.
On the shelf there.
Street was asked by the Daily Star at Labour Party conference, would he be a lettuce? And he said, actually, I think I'd rather be an onion.
Well, onions, they do
veg that
last
he
longer in the drawer, in the veg drawer.
Yes, and they have lots of layers as well. There we go.
So maybe
that could not necessarily be a good thing, but no.
It's method to madness. And Tim, very briefly, tell us about this half-ton chunk of a fat bear.
Yes, so there's a picture of the bear. He's got a broken... he is huge, isn't he? He's over half a tonne, so probably the equivalent of a small car. Anyway, these bears on this part of the river in America are recorded, and people can vote for their favourite bear, and he's won because despite having a broken jaw, he's put on the most weight and lost the most weight over the season, so... half-tonne is named Chunk.
He's obviously eating broccoli.
He's not on one meal a day.
Yeah, definitely not. Tim, Alison, thank you very much indeed. Let's get a check on the weather now with Aidan McGibbon.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office. Storm Amy has been named, likely to hit the UK during Friday night. But for the start of today, it's a fine start for many of us. Largely cloudy before some heavy rain turns up across the northwest. Now, this rain isn't Storm Amy, but it is just ahead of the storm, and it's likely to bring some impacts to western Scotland, where we've already had some very wet weather through the week. That rain eased off overnight, but it turns heavier and more persistent once again through Northern Ireland and western Scotland by the afternoon. With the breeze here as well, it's going to be an unpleasant afternoon. But elsewhere, any mist patches soon clearing. Bright enough for the Midlands, the south and southeast of England, and feeling warm once again with relatively light winds. That won't be the case for much of Scotland as we end the day. The heavy rain moves into the north and parts of eastern Scotland as well. It continues through the west with another 50 to 80 millimetres of rain over western Scotland during the next few days, on top of what's already fallen this week. Risk of localised flooding. Northern Ireland also seeing a very wet rush hour. West Wales and Cornwall at this stage starts to see the rain, and it's during the night that the main swathe of winds and rain moves through across the UK. So a lively night of weather for many of us. Wet and windy, some heavy rain out there for a few hours before eventually, as dawn breaks tomorrow, those outbreaks of rain affecting East Anglia and the southeast, the far north of Scotland as well, but drier elsewhere and a very mild night to come. A notable difference stepping outside in the south first thing compared with the much cooler mornings we've seen so far this week. And actually there's a relatively fine spell of weather in between systems during Friday itself. Some spells of sunshine come through across central and eastern parts, feeling warm once again, but you can see outbreaks of rain already by now reaching western areas, and the wind picks up as Storm Amy arrives.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M74 southbound is currently closed after junction 22 due to an ongoing incident. Motorists are advised to consider alternative routes and plan for extra travel time. On the M25 anti-clockwise between junctions 30 and 29, congestion is causing a 20-minute delay, with normal traffic expected by 8 o'clock. Heavy congestion on the M4 eastbound stretches from junction 24 Coldra to junction 23 Rogiet. And on the trains, there is significant disruption between Stafford and Wolverhampton, affecting Avanti West Coast and cross-country services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The Prime Minister is to introduce new refugee rules as he admits that the system is not fit for purpose.
Sir Keir Starmer prepares to meet European leaders in Copenhagen to discuss tightening border controls.
Well, earlier we spoke to Home Office Minister Mike Tapp on the issue.
We're being strong, but also being decent. We're being firm, but being fair, and creating a system that works for the British people.
The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, vows to rip up climate change laws if she becomes Prime Minister. We'll be putting that to the Shadow Energy Secretary in just a moment.
Pressure mounts on Conservative peer Michelle Mone to step down from the House of Lords over her role in the COVID contract scandal. Live shots now of the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, arriving in Denmark, in Copenhagen. He is here for the European Political Community Summit. They're going to be talking about lots of things. They're going to be talking about border control. But the Danish Prime Minister has also been speaking, declaring that Europe is in a hybrid war with Russia. Let's have a listen to what the Prime Minister has to say.
A number of options there. There's a big appetite for it. A number of countries wanting to work with us on what more we can do. So we'll be looking at that. There is also then obviously the question of Ukraine and how we put in more support for Ukraine, put pressure on Putin. So it'll really be migration and Ukraine will be the two dominant issues in the discussions today.
Prime Minister, can I just ask, do you have any reaction to the BBC's investigation into the Metropolitan Police?
I've not yet seen the footage, but I've had it described to me, and it's shocking. And I'm glad the Commissioner is responding. He needs to be very robust in his response. Thank you.
Prime Minister, is the Metropolitan Police doing a good job?
They're speaking to journalists in Copenhagen, meeting European leaders, saying that migration and Ukraine are going to be the two biggest priorities. That he also reacted to the BBC's Panorama programme yesterday, alleging serious allegations of misogyny within the Metropolitan Police at Charing Cross Police Station, calling it shocking.
Yeah. And I mean, European leaders are going to be talking a lot about violations in airspace. We know that Russian drones and Russian warplanes have been identified in European airspace. So you can see why Ukraine and this hybrid war with Russia that the Danish Prime Minister has been talking about, why that is going to be top of the agenda. This is obviously a security issue, isn't it?
It certainly is. And migration, of course, also top of the agenda. The Prime Minister expects to discuss joint migrant returns hubs with countries like Denmark, Italy, Germany and the Netherlands Netherlands to send failed asylum seekers to the Western Balkans and Africa. Perhaps a new partnership as well with the Danish Prime Minister, backed by up to £3 million, encouraging people to stay in the Western Balkans. That's countries like Albania, Macedonia, Serbia, rather than making the journey across Europe to Western Europe and then eventually across the Channel to the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister, of course, has been very keen to collaborate with Europe, particularly post-Brexit and the years of the Conservative government perhaps not being as friendly with Europe following that referendum.
Yeah, and obviously the defence of NATO is going to be top of the agenda with the Prime Minister today in Europe. We'll bring that across the programme to you, so you won't miss a thing here on GB News Breakfast. Let's speak now to the Conservative Party, shall we? And the Shadow Energy Secretary, Claire Coutinho, joins us now. Very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on Breakfast.
Good morning.
Let's start with the Prime Minister, shall we, who we just heard speaking there in Denmark. He's going to be speaking with European leaders about migration, about Ukraine. He's going to be talking about scrapping automatic rights for refugees, ending the golden ticket for asylum seekers, as he describes it. He says that the system is unfair at present. What do you make of these changes?
Well, look, I support them in as far as they go, but the problem is it doesn't nearly go far enough. And actually, we put forward policies. We had a deportation bill back at the beginning of the year, and our policies are to put much more conditions around people being able to stay here. But the challenge that you've got, I think, with Keir particularly, is that he doesn't want to take on any of the legal architecture, which means that we struggle to deport people, whether they're criminals, whether they're not contributing, whatever it might be. So actually, I think he needs to go much further than this. We know the public are extremely worried about immigration. They're extremely, I think, fed up of seeing these cases where we can't deport people who've committed the most awful crimes here in Britain, and we need to have a much tighter system, and I don't think the Labour policies overall do that at all.
Well, Claire, how much further is the Conservative Party prepared to go? For example, it's been rumoured that Kemi Badenoch is prepared to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. Is that going to be happening?
Well, we know that she's doing the review into the ECHR and she'll be making an announcement on conference. I can't get ahead of that, I'm afraid. But what we've already said so far is that we would completely disapply the Human Rights Act when it comes to immigration. So we've already shown that we understand this is the issue and that we need to be able to deport people. If you come here illegally, if you come here and commit a crime, if you're not contributing and if you're existing on benefits, then we should be able to deport people.
The Prime Minister was sitting down with our political editor, Christopher Hope, yesterday, and he described the boats crossing the Channel as Farage boats, linking Brexit to the rise in small boat crossings. Do you think that was fair, and do you think that's the right terminology? Would you refer to them as Farage boats?
No, I think that's nonsense. It's the kind of thing we've sort of seen from the Lib Dems and Brexit. They talk about the return scheme. By the end of it, we were taking more people than we were sending away. So I think that's complete garbage, and it's because he's got a failure to address the issue, and he should really be talking and looking at that.
Claire, can I talk to you about Kemi Badenoch's announcement this morning that the Conservative Party plans to repeal the Climate Change Act of 2008 if you were to regain power, saying that it's a law that's kind of excessive costs and red tape. What is this actually going to achieve for ordinary British citizens if you were to become into power?
Well, I mean, here's the problem. What we know is that there are lots of costs coming down the track which are going to make ordinary people's lives harder. One of the things that I fought against in government, for example, was a boiler tax. We know lots of people in the country can't get a heat pump, and yet there's a tax coming down the line which means that if you need to get a new gas boiler, it's going to become more expensive. I think that's the last thing that the country needs. We know that cost of living is really difficult, and actually when it comes to one of the biggest problems that households face, and businesses as well, it's the high energy costs that we've got in this country. So we think we need to have an approach which is unashamedly about putting cheap energy first, particularly bringing down the prices of electricity. We know we've got very expensive electricity compared to other countries, and that would be the right thing for households, it would be the right thing for businesses, and it would be the right thing for industry, and also it would be better for the environment. At the moment, what we're doing is we're driving businesses abroad to countries which are often still powered by coal. That makes absolutely no sense.
And cheaper energy would be really welcomed by the British people. But you were Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero in the Conservative government. So lots of people will be watching and listening to you and thinking, well, why didn't you cut this red tape when you had a chance?
So one of the things, I was there for just under a year, but one of the things I said from the very beginning is that we have to be much more pragmatic about net zero. I talked all the time about the costs for families and not wanting to do this off the back of struggling families. And there were various changes that I did make, for example, pushing back the bans on cars and boilers as well. But one of the things that we were hamstrung by was the Climate Change Act. So that's why we've gone further. And opposition is about reflecting where you got things wrong. And we've said we have to get rid of the Act. We have to be able to put cheap electricity first. We'll be setting out more plans to show you how we can do that. But we have to be able to address the challenges of the British people. And I think cost of electricity is one of them.
But you had 14 years to get rid of this Climate Change Act. It was enacted during the previous Labour government in 2008.
Well, I wasn't there for all of that time. I came in 2019. Kemi Badenoch was one of the only two people in Parliament who stood up against and asked questions about that extension that happened in 2019. So you've got new leadership now. We've looked at all the details. As I said in government, I was talking about the fact that we were going to put these extra costs on families and businesses, and I worried deeply about that. And what we want to do now is make sure that we can put cheap energy first. We also, by the way, want to protect nature. We want to support innovation. But the way we're going about things, this isn't even reducing global emissions. You're moving businesses, as I've said many times before, to parts of the world which have much dirtier energy systems. That actually doesn't work in terms of global emissions at all. So we need to be able to make sure we can balance trade-offs for families, bring down the cost of electricity, protect our industry here, and make sure we're doing all of this in a practical way which puts the economy and living standards first.
OK, Shadow Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast.
Well, the time is 8 minutes past 8. Let's take a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom.
And tributes are pouring in for Dame Jane Goodall, the world-famous wildlife advocate and chimpanzee expert who has died at the age of 91. She passed away from natural causes whilst in California on a book tour. Former US President Barack Obama and the actor Leonardo DiCaprio are among those leading the tributes.
The Israeli military has arrested Greta Thunberg after intercepting a flotilla she was on heading for Gaza carrying aid. Israel's foreign ministry has since posted a clip on X of the climate activist being detained and said that Greta and her friends are safe and healthy.
The government has confirmed new digital identity cards will not be called Brit cards.
In an interview on Chopper's Political podcast, Scottish Labour leader Anna Sauer said this.
How's this Brit card going down? The Brit card?
Well, one is not called Brit card.
It is called a Brit card.
It's not called Brit card. It's been confirmed already. It's not called.
What's it called then?
Brit
Scott card.
We'll find out what it's called.
So it's not called a Brit card.
So it's not called a Brit card.
Who told you that? I thought I was there on Friday. It was called a Brit card on Friday.
No, I can. If this is an exclusive on GB News,
down the camera.
I can confirm it's not called a Brit card. But look, it depends again what this is. If we are talking about, because I understand the civil liberties argument.
Yes.
And if this is something that would be used around stop and search and things like that, I think that would be a step too far. If what this is you're getting your driving license on a digital platform.
Benefits.
And you're getting your national insurance card on a digital platform. And that digital platform can be used to verify your identification when you go for a job and for an employer to verify your identification, which they have to do anyway in paper form. They can do it in digital form. I think that's a very good thing. But of course, I understand the civil liberties argument.
Well, you can watch and listen to Chopper's Political podcast in full from 6 a.m. tomorrow or on gbnews.com or wherever you usually get your podcasts. No escaping it.
No escaping it. Online. Now it's time for your weather with Aidan McGivern.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office. Storm Amy has been named, likely to hit the UK during Friday night. But for the start of today, it's a fine start for many of us. Largely cloudy before some heavy rain turns up across the northwest. Now, this rain isn't Storm Amy, but it is just ahead of the storm, and it's likely to bring some impacts to western Scotland, where we've already had some very wet weather through the week. That rain eased off overnight, but it turns heavier and more persistent once again through Northern Ireland and western Scotland by the afternoon. With the breeze here as well, it's going to be an unpleasant afternoon. But elsewhere, any mist patches soon clearing. Bright enough for the Midlands, the south and southeast of England, and feeling warm once again with relatively light winds. That won't be the case for much of Scotland as we end the day. The heavy rain moves into the north and parts of eastern Scotland as well. It continues through the west with another 50 to 80 millimetres of rain over western Scotland during the next few days, on top of what's already fallen this week. Risk of localised flooding. Northern Ireland also seeing a very wet rush hour. West Wales and Cornwall at this stage starts to see the rain, and it's during the night that the main swathe of winds and rain moves through across the UK. So a lively night of weather for many of us. Wet and windy, some heavy rain out there for a few hours before eventually, as dawn breaks tomorrow, those outbreaks of rain affecting East Anglia and the southeast, the far north of Scotland as well, but drier elsewhere, and a very mild night to come. A notable difference stepping outside in the south first thing, compared with the much cooler mornings we've seen so far this week. And actually, there's a relatively fine spell of weather in between systems during Friday itself. Some spells of sunshine come through across central and eastern parts, feeling warm once again, but you can see outbreaks of rain already by now reaching western areas, and the wind picks up as Storm Amy arrives.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
The time is 12 minutes past 8, and our political correspondent Catherine Forster, I believe, can join us now from Copenhagen, where the Prime Minister has arrived in the last half an hour or so. And Catherine, I think migration is high up on his list of priorities.
Yes, good morning from Copenhagen. It absolutely is. He will be chairing a round table on the topic of illegal migration, a challenge not just for us, of course, in the UK, but right across Europe. And this big announcement from the government today that it will no longer be like a golden ticket to come across the channel on a small boat and get asylum here, get put up in a hotel and so on. What the big change is that they are scrapping this automatic right to bring family members if and when you are granted asylum. That was already suspended, but they are scrapping that now, and they're going to put in much more stringent criteria for bringing family members across, much like people who arrive legally, the hoops that they have to jump through, and in fact British citizens who want to bring foreign spouses across. So it's about fairness, and the government admitting basically that they have been too soft. A government spokesman has said we are acknowledging that there are people who are asylum shopping across the continent, looking for the country that offers them the most. We have been criticised in this country for being too generous and creating a pull factor. We get it. We have been overly generous, so they want to send a message that basically you're not going to get a better deal here if you cross all of the safe countries in Europe seeking asylum, make that crossing and land here. They want to make it much more of a level playing field so that people don't feel that they've got an incentive to come here. And of course, this is all because the numbers crossing the channel are up. We had a boat with over 120 people crossing, 33,000 come across so far illegally this year. And also, of course, reform surging ahead in the polls. A very vicious war of words has broken out there. But it won't just be migration talking about here in Copenhagen. Of course, security and defence. The security operation here is phenomenal because we've got dozens and dozens of European leaders arriving for this summit, though I did just happen to see the French President Emmanuel Macron strolling through the centre of Copenhagen last night. But there's drones overhead, there's helicopters, there's snipers on the roofs, there's dogs, there's horses, you name it. Ukraine and security, of course, very much on the agenda.
OK, Catherine Forster there for us in Copenhagen. Thank you very much.
Now, you can enjoy unlimited Great British Getaways with our latest Great British Giveaway. Your chance to win a brand new 4-berth motorhome worth over 74 grand plus 30 grand in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Here's all the details.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Best of luck with that. And still to come, are diversity, equity and inclusion measures killing businesses? We're debating that after Burberry made their diversity chief redundant. That's next on GB News.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
While the organisers work, it is lunchtime for the guinea pigs. Let me give Helen you this.
Thank you. There we go. This is Ziggy, and she's one of our 7 rescue piggies that we brought along with us today.
And Helen, you're here with this amazing model village where the guinea pigs are enjoying.
Yeah.
Guinea pigs don't really need as much space as this, though, but it is nice.
It is lovely. I mean, you know, who wouldn't want your own pub and your own nail bar? But on a serious note, the reason we've built such a big enclosure here today is just to provide that message that bigger is always better. Guinea pigs love exploring, they love foraging, you know, it's really good for their mental well-being. So the bigger space you can provide them, the better. And I think ours are having a really nice time today.
Ziggy is getting through that lettuce leaf. I'll leave you to enjoy that. Thank you, Helen, for joining us. Come with me this way as the organisers are continuing to get the event underway here. You can hear the drilling going on because we've got dancing dogs here, because the show here is all about how music is impacting your pets. Trip Hazard is a Trip Hazard here, and Lucy, who looks after Trip Hazard, you've been on Britain's Got Talent, came 5th on that. Also, European UK dog dancing champions.
Right, yeah.
How'd you get into this?
To be honest, we used to watch it at Crufts when I was younger, and I wasn't allowed a dog of my own, and I thought it was the most magical thing I'd ever seen, the bond between the dog and owner, and I just knew that when I got my first dog, I really wanted to give it a go.
And, I mean, if anyone fancies doing this at home, what's your advice?
Oh, find what your dog really, really loves, their favourite treats, their favourite toy, and definitely use that to teach them and reward them for all the tricks.
Well, have you got a treat for me to perhaps test something out now? Rummaging around for a treat. Right, we've been practising this all morning. Wish me luck. Volt, 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 volt. Hey, there we go. Oh, it was better earlier, but that is something I've learned this morning.
The People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Now, the fashion giant Burberry has made its diversity chief redundant after the company reported £6 million worth of losses earlier this year.
That's right. The company could axe up to 2,000 staff by 2027.
So, with a fifth of Burberry's workforce set to get the boot, could diversity, equity and inclusion be making businesses go bust?
We'll debate this. We're joined by the Director of Research at the Adam Smith Institute, Maxwell Marlowe, and political activist Martin Abrams. Good morning to you both. First of all, Maxwell, do you think that diversity, equity and inclusion is to blame for Burberry's troubles?
Well, good morning. It's not the only thing to blame, but it is significant. Since 2011, we've seen a 41% increase in the number of people employed in HR roles or DEI roles as well. And it doesn't exactly help companies perform the jobs they need to do. Burberry is just one instance of this. There are many others where, unfortunately, an overemphasis on middle management bureaucracy and basically fiddling with how people interact with their companies has lowered people's job satisfaction rates and also driven companies further down in competitiveness. And when we look at America, for example, where this trend against DEI has been happening, we've seen an increase in productivity, an increase in performance, an increase in profitability. And I think it's time that British companies really do start to learn from our more profitable and successful American cousins.
Martin, what do you think?
Well, you'd be surprised that I just don't agree. I mean, let's be clear what, diversity, equity and inclusion means. I mean, it is essentially to encourage the presence of a wide range of differences in the workplace, including things like race, ethnicity and, age, disability and religion, but also, the practice of ensuring that everyone has fair opportunities and resources to succeed whilst creating an environment where everyone feels valued. These are good things to have in the workplace, and I would disagree with the evidence that the other speaker has supplied, because there is absolutely tons of scientific, empirical evidence to show that DEI works. I'll just give one. There was a review by the Harvard Business Review, which found over 200 teams over 2 years that used inclusive decision-making made better decisions. So, this one example of Burberry, sacking their DEI manager, that's not evidence. That is just one company that is clearly having difficulties. We are going through a cost of living crisis at the moment. I don't know if anyone's been into a Burberry shop, but you can spend about 800 quid on a scarf, I believe. I think they probably need to be a bit more inclusive in how much they charge for their goods, and they might start to do a little bit better.
Maxwell, in general, what is the motive, do you think, for all these diversity, equity and inclusion hires? And as you say, the expansion of middle management, expansion of HR?
So it actually comes down to legal preference. So it's under the Equalities Act, which a lot of these employees operate. Now, there is actually good reason for having strong HR and DEI, so I'm not totally against the idea, but the reason for that fundamentally is that because of the current workplace legislation, and we're going to see more of that with the Employment Rights Bill, it increases the legal risk for companies should there be an HR incident, and particularly down to things like racism or sexism. And what we've also seen, for example, with the Birmingham bin strikes and also a recent pay review forced by the High Court with Next, is that, unfortunately, if you don't have these legal safeguards in place through HR roles, you can open yourself up to hundreds of millions or millions of pounds worth of legal damages and a really big knock-on effect. So it's important to be there. But, our own research from the Adam Smith Institute shows that over 51% of people in Britain are reliant on the state for some form of income. And HR managers and people who work in that role are included in that because the baseline of their work is fundamentally regulatory and it is fundamentally legislative. So we can see why it's there. But unfortunately, I can see why these are the first roles to go when the times get tough.
Martin, what do you make of the arguments that there's a danger that if you hire for diversity rather than meritocracy, for example, that has a problem when it comes to the productivity of a company or the quality of the output? Do you agree with that or disagree?
I don't think DEI has an impact in terms of meritocracy. Any business is always going to hire the best possible candidate, okay? And in my experience of working in various companies and organisations over the course of 30 years, that has always been the case. I'll just come back to the point the previous speaker made about people being reliant on the state. I mean, he's just made an excellent argument for people being paid more. You know, people shouldn't have to be reliant on benefits just to make ends meet. He mentions the Birmingham bin strikes. The Birmingham bin strikers were essentially fired and rehired. They were sacked and then re-employed on lower wages. You know, this goes slightly beyond DEI. We need better workers' rights in the workplace. We need stronger trade unions so that dial is shifted from the employer to the employee, because for far too long, employees have been absolutely screwed over under a 45-year failed neoliberal Thatcherite project where people have been getting poorer, their living standards have been getting poorer, their wages have been shrinking. You know, there's a housing crisis, there's a cost of living crisis. This could all be solved in many respects by paying people more, and maybe you know, companies need to, you know, really recognise that rather than just treat their employees badly, and that includes having, you know, a really good diversity, equality and inclusion policy.
OK, gentlemen, thank you very much. We're out of time with you, I'm afraid. But Maxwell and Martin, thank you very much indeed. Let us know what you think on that one.
Yes, gbnews.com/your say. Now, if you're travelling to work or school, here is your traffic and travel update.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M74 is closed southbound after junction 22 due to a road traffic incident. Motorists should consider alternative routes. Congestion is affecting the M4 eastbound at junction 33, Capel Lanilturn, particularly on the off-slip. In Luton, on the M1 southbound, between junction 11 and 10, there's been a traffic collision, causing one lane closure. Further disruption on the A3M northbound in Hampshire between junctions 3 and 2 due to a road collision. One lane remains closed. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and Cross Country report disruptions between Stafford and Wolverhampton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, the London Mayor, Sir Sadiq Khan, has said he's disgusted by footage in a new Panorama documentary of Met Police allegedly joking about shooting immigrants. We're going to be discussing that with our newspaper panel shortly.
But first, the Prime Minister is in Copenhagen. Find out what topics he's expected to discuss with world leaders next.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, you didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Let's speak now to the Liberal Democrats, shall we? And the Foreign Affairs spokesperson, Callum Miller, joins us now. Good to see you this morning, Mr. Miller.
Morning.
We've just seen the Prime Minister arrive in Copenhagen. He's going to be speaking to European leaders about many things, Ukraine, migration. On migration, he is talking about ending the golden ticket for asylum seekers, requiring refugees to earn their right to bring family to Britain. He says the current system is not fair. What do you make of that?
We all know that we have a real crisis when it comes to our immigration system. And I think what everybody I speak to wants to see is a fair and efficient system. So what's fair about this would be that those coming to this country who are successful in proving that they deserve asylum here are treated fairly and respectably in the country to which they've come. So that's the priority here. And I think the other thing that's really important is that we do everything we can to discourage those getting on the small boats and coming to the country. And there, at this European summit, there's a real opportunity for the Prime Minister to strike more deals like the deal with France that would allow people to be returned to other European countries.
The Prime Minister describes those small boats crossing the Channel as Farage boats. Do you agree?
Where I agree with the Prime Minister is that prior to Brexit, the UK benefited from its participation in something called the Dublin Agreement, which gave us automatic ability to negotiate returns to all other European countries. Since Brexit, that has been broken and that opportunity has not existed. So hence we've seen the increase in small boats. I also think we need to be clear that the previous Conservative government allowed this situation to get completely out of control. Rather than dealing with those who had failed to be given asylum in this country, they allowed a huge backlog to emerge. And that's why Liberal Democrats have called for us to treat this like a national emergency and to put lots of resource in the next 6 months into dealing with it so that those 90,000 or so who are in this country who have not been granted asylum can be returned over that period.
OK, but you can't blame Nigel Farage entirely for all of this. Of course, there's global factors when it comes to migrants crossing the English Channel. Lots of displacements, Afghanistan, Syria, for example. And, of course, Nigel was just one of 52% of the population who voted for Brexit.
I think what the Prime Minister is probably driving at is that Nigel Farage was a strong advocate for us leaving our arrangement to the European Union and that he and the Conservatives chose a very hard version of Brexit that tore up a whole series of agreements. So it's not only the fact that we're no longer in these Dublin agreements, but also we don't share data anymore with European countries. So we don't know whether or not those arriving on our shores have previously tried to apply for asylum in other European countries. Prior to Brexit, we did have that information.
You alluded there to what the Prime Minister can hope to achieve at the European Political Community Summit. The Lib Dems are pushing for a security package for Greenland. Tell us a bit more about this.
What we've seen since Donald Trump came into office is that he has repeatedly threatened Greenland and suggested that the United States would like to take it over in order to mine its minerals. We think that's inappropriate. It's an inappropriate way to behave towards a NATO ally, and we think it's right and proper that the UK, along with European partners, should signal very clearly that this kind of invasion of sovereignty is totally inappropriate. Apart from anything else, it gives succor to the likes of Vladimir Putin, who has arguably made the similar argument about Ukraine, behaving as though somewhere in his backyard is a place that he can just overrun at will because he likes the look of it. And so it's very important that a very clear signal is sent that this kind of saber-rattling and threatening attitude from the White House is totally inappropriate.
OK, but President Trump isn't threatening to invade a sovereign land, unlike President Putin, of course.
President Trump has made quite a significant number of overtures. There is a military base on Greenland, and we know that Vice President Vance visited that without prior warning to the Greenland authorities. So I think what is really important here is that we don't find ourselves in a situation where democratic countries, including the US, are behaving in the same way as those autocratic regimes that behave as if might is right and that the powerful can just bully the weak into submission.
Callum Miller, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast.
Right, time to go through the latest sports news with Paul Coit. Good morning again.
Good morning. So last night, wins for Newcastle, win for Arsenal, Monaco and Man City with 2-2 in the Champions League. So it's the Europa League tonight. Celtic at home to Sporting Braga of Portugal. Aston Villa playing away at Feyenoord in the Netherlands, and Forest at home to FC Midtjylland, which has got too many L's and Y's in there for me to be able to spell for you.
Where are they from?
They are from Denmark.
Oh, yeah.
Second, I'll give you
I'm fascinated by
your
geography.
second favourite Denmark team. Talking about Copenhagen, they're in Denmark.
What about Celtic?
Celtic, we've just done it. Sporting Braga, first one. Yeah, so they're playing Braga from Portugal, and in the Conference League, Dynamo Kiev versus Crystal Palace.
Indeed.
Do you hear about the World Cup? So
No,
there's
tell us about
talk
this.
that England games may be, because of the time difference, because it's being played in Mexico and the USA and Canada, we may have to watch them at 1 a.m.
1 in the morning?
1 in the morning, because if you think of the time difference, so what they're trying to do with FIFA at the moment is to try and work out with European teams, because obviously the Europeans, this is where probably, I would say, the majority of people watching the World Cup would want afternoon kickoffs. But the problem is the heat. So can you imagine if you're kicking off Mexico, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, in the height of the summer, it's going to be awful for the players, but for us, we don't want to be up until 1 o'clock, watching at 1 o'clock in the morning.
No, it's a bit like watching the Super Bowl in the United States. You have to be up at silly o'clock.
Exactly, but this is England football. It's outrageous.
Do you think people will stay up for it?
Oh, I think there's not much doubt. I'm just worried about myself. That's all it is. I'm just thinking, I think if I get up at 3, so what are we going to do then?
Well, you just won't be sleeping, I don't think.
I just have to come straight here and tell us all about it.
I know, it'll just be straight after. So, I mean, it's going to be tricky, it's going to be difficult for all of us, but...
You'd have to get here at midnight, just settle in, I think.
Do you think so?
Straight into the show, I think so.
OK.
Get a sleepover, we can get some popcorn.
OK, we could do that.
We can make it fun.
We'll have a nice time with it. But anyway, still nothing sorted out yet. 1 o'clock, so is a possibility for the kickoffs over there. Quick word about the boat race, which the BBC...
Which I'm very obsessed about.
I know you are, and I don't know where I stand on the... I mean, I'll be absolutely honest. Love the idea of the boat race. Always used to watch the boat race. But of recent times, because there's so much sport on, the BBC have said they're not going to spend the money on it anymore. I think Channel 4 are going to take it live. But there's the talk of elitism, the fact that it's Oxford versus Cambridge. Anybody really care? Do they these days?
It's a tradition. It's a British tradition.
See, I like that.
It's the tradition of it.
I agree with that. I like the tradition of it, but as a sporting event...
We used to always have it on as a family.
Yeah, exactly. So did mine.
But be honest with me, did you ever watch it and think, wouldn't it be fun if one of them sinks? Obviously, everybody's OK.
One of them did sink one year.
Well,
Do you remember it was a Cambridge?
It's happened quite a few times, 2 or 3 times over the years. So you sort of think, that'd make it quite interesting. I know it's terrible, but as long as everybody's OK.
Well, I was listening back to the broadcast in 1947 of
John
the boat
Snagg
race.
would have been the commentator.
And it was incredibly foggy. And he lost track of the 2 boats. And if it was John Snagg, he was like, I don't actually know who's in the lead. It's either Oxford or Cambridge.
Well, you know that there's a good chance to get 50% of it right because it's from Oxford or Cambridge. We're not sure which one, but it's going to be one of them.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the end of it. Right.
Birthday!
Come on then, this is what you've been waiting for. Let's do some. We've got some sporting birthdays, a couple of showbiz ones as well for you. Right, first one, please. Our first birthday is... I could just hear in my ear at the moment, which is always a bad sign. There we. Oh look, that's Sir Trevor Brooking. I don't know what's going on with the hair there, Sir Trevor. Sir Trevor Brooking, West Ham legend, played for England many times. Also, he was with the FA.
82.
82 for Sir Trevor. BBC commentator.
I'm going to go 78.
78 is a good guess. 77.
Oh, so close.
77, very good. Let's go again. We've got another one. Right, Alison Becker, the current Liverpool goalkeeper, although injured at the moment. Don't be fooled by the beard. What do you think? How old is Alison Becker? Fine goalkeeper Alison. What do you think?
29, I reckon.
29?
I reckon he looks older than... Or maybe that's rude. Older than he is? I don't know.
Don't worry.
31.
31 is the right answer.
Yay!
Very
One
good.
in a long time.
OK, let's go again. Let's go again. We've got a couple more. Right, next one, Roberto Firmino, another ex-Liverpool player.
He's got baby face.
Slightly older. He's left. Don't be fooled by the baby face.
Oh.
I was going to say... I was going to say 26, but now you're saying...
No, he's left Liverpool now, coming towards the twilight of his career.
Oh, you're really helping us out this
35.
Good guess.
34.
Correct, huh?
Oh, no. OK.
Right, we'll go showbiz. Come on then, let's do a couple of showbiz ones.
Better at that.
Now, look, this is not really the picture I would have wanted, but the lead singer of the Human League, Phil Oakey.
Oh, right, OK.
Together in Electric Dreams, Don't You Want Me, and...
Together in Electric
That's it, there you go. I overcooked this, or undercooked it. I can't believe he is actually this...
Well, due to those song choices, I reckon 50.
50?
Yeah.
50. Together in Electric Dreams was 84. Don't You Want Me was 81.
Oh,
so he's big in the 80s, which puts him born in the 60s, which means 66.
I want to tell you, he's 70 today. How can Phil Oakey be 70 today?
That's incredible.
Not
Happy
far off.
It's not far off, but it did help you a fair bit. One more. OK. It's Sting's birthday.
It's Sting.
How old is Sting?
64.
Do you know why he's called Sting?
No.
Because he wore a yellow and black jumper once, and they said it looked like a bee, so he was called Sting, and he was called Sting ever since.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that. Fun
there you go. So how old do you think Sting is? 64, you say?
Yeah.
I reckon 67.
74.
No way.
Sting.
Gosh.
It's very good for his
Well,
age,
happy
isn't it, Sting?
birthday.
Happy birthday, everyone.
Good game. Well
Love
done,
it.
Ellie. Very good.
I
Two
feel
on
like
the
you
money
really
there.
were generous with your help today.
I was no, but you still got 2 on the money.
I also think you won.
I did by 2.
Yes.
You'll be glad to.
Well, next time I play the
Tomorrow.
game. Yeah, tomorrow we'll do this.
More tomorrow, please.
More tomorrow.
More tomorrow.
Absolutely, and
you.
more
Thank
boat
you.
race
You
business.
promised us now.
Definitely.
See you tomorrow, Coity. Thank you very much.
Right, still to come, the Met Police Chief, Sir Mark Rowley, said this on GB News yesterday, just hours before a Panorama documentary revealed shocking footage of police officers, allegedly joking about using force against the public. We'll be going through that next.
I understand the people of London are going to be really upset by this. Some it will cause to question the trust they hold the police in. And we depend on that trust so much because without it we can't succeed in keeping them safe.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Lee Purvis. Lee, I think last night there were probably 10 million armchair judges watching, but what was your verdict on what you saw?
I thought it was fantastic. I was slightly taken aback at how harsh the judges seemed to be, certainly for the first week of them at voting. I think Karen Carney's jive was fantastic, made me want to take up jiving. And I think Ross King got off really badly, actually. I felt quite sorry for him. I was quite surprised at how harshly marked he was. And having met him several times, obviously in the showbiz scene and as a fellow journalist, you know, I knew how utterly nervous nervous he was. And I think it's going to be a bumpy ride for all the contestants this year. The judges are really focusing on the footwork on the floor, and absolutely everyone needs to sort of up their game. But it's absolutely fabulous. You know, more than 100,000 sequins involved in the show that we saw last night, and it can only get bigger and better.
I think that that first programme is always the opportunity for people more to decide who is likely to get the chop rather than those that are going to make it through to the glitter ball. Because, I mean, you know, so many people are so close with their marking last night, and so many of them clearly show the opportunity of getting better as they go week after week. But it is usually quite easy to find, I think, who's going to be thrown out. What do you think?
Well, so I think Ross King, definitely, we'll see him probably go in literally a matter of weeks. I think Stephen Dennis, who played Paul Robinson for many years on our screens in Australian soap Neighbours, I don't think he's going to be in it for much longer either. Again, I felt quite sorry for him, and also having to dance to the theme tune of Neighbours was just pure genius.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The time is 8:46. Joining us to go through the papers is entrepreneur and broadcaster Alison Cork and presenter and broadcaster Tim Vincent. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
We have to talk about this unbelievably shocking panorama documentary on the BBC about the culture of misogyny and racism inside Metropolitan Police. Before we discuss it, I believe we've got a clip to show you at home.
I paid money to go to clubs and see women dressed like this.
We filmed officers who don't appear to believe women when they report being victims of crime.
Yeah, she was pregnant, tried to kill her father. You understand that? That's what she says.
Officers displaying racist and discriminatory attitudes.
Islam is a serious problem, I think. Any fool person has the worst deal with. God, we so lose our job right now.
We could so lose our job right now, Alison.
Honestly, but this sort of film is so utterly damaging to the fabric of our society, because these are people working in institutions that we place our trust in. And, you know, on a different level, it's a bit like we were talking earlier about the House of Lords, you know, people being in the House of Lords and not turning up to vote or doing their job. We need to believe that people who are entrusted with these jobs of great responsibility are people of the highest possible standards. And, you know, I don't know if that is about paying people more to do the job, but it's certainly about ensuring that when they're in the job, they are, as far as possible, above reproach, because that is just one of the most damaging things we could see. It's awful.
That was recorded in January this year. You would have thought, after the history that they've had over the last 2 or 3 years and the shocking treatment with Sarah Everard and all the other things that have gone, they would have at least internally cleaned up their own situation. But no, 4 years on, there is still this abusive, toxic, misogynistic, racist comments that are being made from the people that should be upholding the law.
Yeah.
And also, they're the people that we do. If I got arrested, they're the person that, on the first instance, will make any decisions on where my case goes.
Well, that's what's so alarming, isn't it?
Yeah.
We had the Casey review just 2 years ago after the death of Sarah Everard, looking into the behaviour of the Metropolitan Police, and it found racism, sexism and homophobia to be there within the ranks of the Metropolitan Police. And what this documentary shows is 2 years on, that those attitudes are still there. They've just been pushed underground.
Yeah,
the reporter does talk about the fact, I think he was undercover for about 7 months. He says it took a number of months before they started to trust him and actually have those sorts of conversations.
So,
that was revealing of their true thoughts.
I don't know the percentage of female officers in the force, but, you know, this misogyny, I mean, one of the ways to deal with it is to have a better gender balance. As we see in corporations, you get better corporate results when there is a balance at the boardroom table. And as I don't know the numbers, so I can't comment specifically, but you can see that environment, men in the room, and there are no women in that room having that conversation.
So this was a specific undercover investigation into Charing Cross Police Station. But of course, Mark Rowley, Metropolitan Police Commissioner, brought in to essentially tackle the systematic issues of misogyny, racism within the Metropolitan Police. He's been in the post 3 years now, and these sort of investigations still being broadcast.
Well, you wonder about the internal conversations and the pressures and whether or not it's even prioritised privately, despite, you know, regardless of the public message.
It's always a fine line, though, isn't it, private? You know, everybody needs to let off steam at the end of the day. We all probably say things that could be out of context, sound slightly dodgy, but this sounds like it's not an epidemic, but certainly entrenched with a lot of people's opinions.
It's systemic. Well, you can tell by the way they're talking.
Sue Fish, who was the temporary chief constable of Nottingham Police and previously ran the misconduct hearings, saw this footage and has said completely inappropriate, very misogynistic, and that's somebody that you can see both sides of the coin. So then hopefully there'll be a massive overturn on this, because as you say, it's just one police station, but it probably is happening all over the place. And if it isn't, you assume it is because of this.
Well, Sir Mark Rowley has been reacting to this. Let's have a listen to what he has to say.
I understand the people of London are going to be really upset by this. Some it will cause to question the trust they hold the police in. And we depend on that trust so much, because without it, we can't succeed in keeping them safe.
Right, let's look at something entirely different, shall we, Tim? In the Times this morning, it's actually on the front page this morning. Britain blows £1 billion on turning off turbines during high winds.
It's unbelievable, really, isn't it? Yesterday, Britain's electricity operator paid wind farm operators £1.3 million in compensation for lost revenue after ordering them to switch off turbines to avoid overloading the grid. And at the same time, the grid operator had to pay nearly £5 million to buy energy from abroad and switch on expensive gas power generation. Now, I drive up and down the country quite regularly, go up north and come back. You see these wind turbines, and a lot of the time they're not moving. You think, well, why is that? You know, they're a blot on the landscape, and this just goes to show you that they basically don't have the infrastructure to transmit that power across the country. So they either need to step up on the plate and get that sorted out, or do something about it.
I mean, it just baffles me that there was not the infrastructure in place before they built these wind turbines to get to net zero.
Well, but you see, this for me illustrates a sort of connected but slightly different point, which is that when I see this sort of what I call corporate waste, I think that as an entrepreneur, waste or inefficiency, to use your word, is a luxury that entrepreneurs cannot afford. And what really offends me is when I see public money wasted like this, because I think, you know, if we were more entrepreneurial, if there was more at risk for the individuals who are running these entities, we wouldn't be seeing this behaviour.
And I think the British public and other publics around the world are quite malleable. We're all up for doing the right thing, and we all do our, you know, clean all our bins and wash everything. And even that makes me go, you know, we wash out our cartons or yoghurt pots, you put them in the bin, and then there's these massive companies that are pumping out billions of pounds of pollution every single year, but we're supposed to look after our yoghurt pots.
So what's the point?
Exactly. There's a prime example here of, you know, it needs to be dealt with at the top levels, not the minions.
And now this Hollywood star is one of my icons. Dame Julie Andrews turns 90 years old this week. Mary Poppins, Maria von Trapp, the list goes on.
Oh, my word.
Can you sing supercalifragilistic?
Can you say it backwards?
I can't even say it forward.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
No!
Oh, my new skill.
So impressive.
So listen, she is incredible.
She's an icon, isn't she? Apparently, though, with a core of steel. So, yes,
Really?
so privately, you know, very, very determined, feisty lady and quite at odds with the sort of Maria character, which I rather like.
But Dick Van Dyke's still going. He's 99, you know, who'd have thought, you know, 50 years ago. Yeah, absolutely, and he's still out there doing a little bit of performing. But, you know, another great Brit representing our country abroad.
Absolutely, and you two are great Brits as well. It's been great having you with us today.
Thank you.
Let's have a look at the weather with Aidan McGibbon.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office. Storm Amy has been named, likely to hit the UK during Friday night. But for the start of today, it's a fine start for many of us. Largely cloudy before some heavy rain turns up across the northwest. Now, this rain isn't Storm Amy, but it is just ahead of the storm, and it's likely to bring some impacts to western Scotland, where we've already had some very weather through the week. That rain eased off overnight, but it turns heavier and more persistent once again through Northern Ireland and western Scotland by the afternoon. With the breeze here as well, it's going to be an unpleasant afternoon. But elsewhere, any mist patches soon clearing. Bright enough for the Midlands, the south and southeast of England, and feeling warm once again with relatively light winds. That won't be the case for much of Scotland as we end the day. The heavy rain moves into the north and parts of eastern Scotland as well. It continues through the west with another 50 to 80 millimetres of rain over western Scotland during the next few days, on top of what's already fallen this week. Risk of localised flooding. Northern Ireland also seeing a very wet rush hour. West Wales and Cornwall at this stage starts to see the rain, and it's during the night that the main swathe of winds and rain moves through across the UK. So a lively night of weather for many of us. Wet and windy, some heavy rain out there for a few hours before eventually, as dawn breaks tomorrow, those outbreaks of rain affecting East Anglia and the southeast, the far north of Scotland as well, but drier elsewhere and a very mild night to come. A notable difference stepping outside in the south first thing compared with the much cooler mornings we've seen so far this week. And actually there's a relatively fine spell of weather in between systems during Friday itself. Some spells of sunshine come through across central and eastern parts, feeling warm once again, but you can see outbreaks of rain already by now reaching western areas, and the wind picks up as Storm Amy arrives.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Access to the A74M southbound from the A75E at Gretna is closed due to a collision. There are delays on the M4 eastbound at junction 33 Capel-Lanilturn off-slip road, and the M55 westbound exit slip at junction 2 is closed. Motorists in Wakefield face significant delays on the A1 northbound between the A638 and A639. A collision on the M40 southbound in Buckinghamshire has closed 2 of 4 lanes. And on the trains, major disruptions are reported between Stafford and Wolverhampton on Avanti West Coast and cross-country services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good morning. The Prime Minister is to introduce new refugee rules as he admits that the current system is not fit for purpose.
So Keir Starmer prepares to meet European leaders in Copenhagen to discuss tightening border controls.
Yes, we're certainly discussing illegal migration and looking at what further options we can take together. Obviously, I've always argued that working with other countries is always a stronger response.
Well, after the Prime Minister blames Brexit for the small boats crisis, this is what the Shadow Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho had to say.
Brexit, they talk about the return scheme. By the end of it, we were taking more people than we were sending away. So I think that's complete garbage, and it's because he's got a failure to address the issue.
No golden ticket. That's the central message from the Prime Minister today to people thinking about crossing the Channel on small boats. We've been accused of being a soft touch. No longer, says the Prime Minister. Also, here in Copenhagen, talking about defence and security. Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine has just arrived in the last couple of minutes.
Pressure mounts on Conservative peer Michelle Mone to step down from the House of Lords over her role in a COVID contract scandal.
Tributes are pouring in from around the globe for Dame Jane Goodall, the pioneering chimpanzee expert who has died at the age of 91.
Well, joining us in just a few moments is Breakfast's very own Eamon Holmes to help remember her legacy.
An unprecedented number of cats and dogs are in need of a new home this autumn. We're going to be visiting the RSPCA shortly to find out more.
Storm Amy arrives tomorrow night, but before Amy hits the UK, we're going to see some impactful rainfall across northwestern parts of the country later today. Full details coming up in the forecast soon.
Good morning to you. It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Cameron Walker, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Now, have you noticed the evenings are getting a little bit nippy, a little bit cold?
And a little bit dark.
Yeah, 'tis the season for a nice big bowl of soup.
Oh, I love
Is it
a
the
soup.
best?
Yes, comforting, warm, full of flavour. Also, is it quite British? Is the soup a British thing?
I'd say soup and a roll, definitely quite British. Well, there is, in fact, a poll in the Daily Mail today about the nation's favourite soup. Can you guess what it is?
No.
Don't look.
Okay. Oh, is it carrot and coriander?
No, that's the worst.
I love carrot and coriander soup. It's not my favourite, but I do love it. I don't know. Is it chicken soup?
Yes. 45% of people say that cream of chicken is their favourite soup in Britain, followed by cream of tomato. I
see.
Which is a classic as well, I've got to admit.
Cream of chicken is the go-to soup, I think, if you're ill and you want something comforting to eat.
It's so comforting, isn't it? What's your favourite soup?
Mine's a Scotch broth, because it's got a bit of everything
What's that?
in. It's got leek, it's got carrots, it's got what else? It's got celery sticks, it's got a bit of kale you can throw into it, but also it's got some Scottish ingredients. So we've got some barley, we've got some porridge oats. So it's quite a thick, stew almost of a soup, and you have it with a crusty brown roll, very Scottish. I really enjoy that.
I was going to say, because actually I think the very important part with the soup is what you dip into it.
Yes.
So my favourite would be a thick vegetable soup, and it has to be thick, with a white French stick, lots of butter.
That sounds amazing. Yeah. I might make a soup this afternoon, actually. I've been inspired. Yes.
It's got me thinking that as well. Blitz up a soup.
How good are you at making soups?
My husband, still getting used to that, my husband's very good at making a vegetable soup. He can do two very good things, a fry-up and a soup. And a vegetable soup is very good, so I'm going to get him doing that.
Very British. What about pies? That's another comfort food, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very British.
Like
is he good at that?
Chicken and leek. No, he's not very good at that. I'm quite good at that, though. Chicken and leek would be my pie choice.
Do you know, I also make a chicken and leek soup with a little bit of bacon in it, and it's a creamy one. And yeah, it's brilliant. I love it.
Sounds good. Let us know. Your favourite soup, is it cream of chicken, like 45% of Brits? Let us know, gbnews.com/you'll say.
Now to our top story, and the Prime Minister is in Copenhagen to meet with European leaders with issues like migration and defence likely to be discussed.
Well, Sir Keir Starmer has admitted that the current asylum rules are not fit for purpose and said that they give greater rights to asylum seekers than migrants who enter legally.
Well, arriving ahead of these talks in Denmark earlier, here's what he said.
Well, yes, we're certainly discussing illegal migration and looking at what further options we can take together. Obviously, I've always argued that working with other countries is always a stronger response. So we're looking at a number of options there. There's a big appetite for it, a number of countries wanting to work with us on what more we can do. So we'll be looking at that. There is also then obviously the question of Ukraine and how we put in more support for Ukraine, put pressure on Putin. So it'll really be migration and Ukraine will be the two dominant issues in the discussions today.
Well, our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, is in Copenhagen for us this morning. Morning to you, Catherine. As we are hearing there from the Prime Minister, lots of important issues on the table today, but his big message is going to be that there's no golden ticket for people crossing the Channel on small boats.
Yes, welcome to Copenhagen and the European Political Community meeting. About 50 leaders from right across Europe gathered here in Copenhagen. And illegal migration, a big topic. The Prime Minister will be hosting a roundtable, and yes, the central message is no golden ticket. They're fundamentally admitting that there are people who've been asylum shopping because, of course, if you cross the Channel on a small boat, you've had to cross the whole of Europe, all of these safe countries, to come to Britain. And the government have said that there are people who are asylum shopping, looking for the country that offers them the most. We've been criticised for this, for being too generous and creating a pull factor. We get it. That's something that France in particular has long felt, that fundamentally we are a soft touch. People want to come because they get a good deal when they arrive. So the government wants to change that, and they're starting with the fact that they are going to stop successful asylum seekers automatically being able to bring across family members. Now, that was already suspended last month, but that is now being scrapped. They're going to make it much harder, and they're going to make a much higher and more difficult bar when you are granted asylum to then be granted indefinite leave to remain. This is part and parcel, of course, of what we heard from Shabana Mahmood, the new Home Secretary, at Liverpool conference. They want to get tougher on legal and illegal migration because they realise that the public are furious. It was a major reason why the Tories were booted out, and they know that if they don't get a grip on this and get the numbers down significantly, they are going to be punished. So it is really an existential crisis for them. So a lot of attention on that here. Also, of course, Ukraine and the defence situation. They'll be talking a lot about that. In the last 5 minutes or so, the Ukrainian President Zelensky arrived. Giorgia Meloni has just arrived from Italy as well. The security here is absolutely off the charts. It took us about an hour to manage to get in. There are government drones in the sky. There are snipers on the roofs. There are police dogs, horses. It's quite incredible. But, you know, there have been a lot of, well, hybrid attacks, as Denmark calls them, here. A big drone disruption at Danish airports recently. They don't know who is behind it, but they haven't ruled Russia out. We've had Russian drone attacks into Poland. We've had Russian planes over Estonian airspace. So real concern about what Russia is doing and helping Ukraine, of course, but also strengthening our sort of eastern flank too.
OK, Catherine Forster there for us in Copenhagen. Thank you very much.
Now the time is 9:08, and it is your chance to enter our Great British Giveaway, a new 4-berth motorhome worth over 74 grand, plus 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof light, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, our very own Eamon Holmes is going to join us to help remember Dame Jane Goodall, who has sadly passed away at the age of 91, the world-renowned conservationist and expert on chimpanzees whose work fundamentally changed our understanding of primates. We're going to be talking to him next.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, lots of you have been getting in touch about your favourite soups to warm you on a winter's day. Pauline, she's got in touch, or Paulis, I should say. Cold beetroot soup, a Lithuanian favourite, apparently.
It's a bit different,
It's not great British soup. Yeah, I'd like to try that, though.
Des has been in touch saying plain old chicken soup, no croutons for me, or tomato soup with a big splash of vinegar. Haven't heard that. before?
No, neither have I.
Isn't it?
Very much a bit different. And Norma, she said she likes broccoli and Stilton soup. I do like a broccoli and Stilton soup.
Yeah,
very
lovely.
rich.
Very comforting.
Yes.
This is the Daily Mail this morning talking about Britain's favourite soup. 'Cause 'tis the season. It is getting colder, isn't it, in the evening?
It is.
And Britain's favourite soup is cream of chicken. 45% love cream of chicken, followed by cream of tomato at 39%.
Maybe it's because everyone gets ill in the winter, so we need a comforting
It's true,
chicken
actually.
soup.
When you're ill with a cold or flu, bowl of chicken soup does the trick.
Best thing. I mean, you were saying a bread roll.
Oh, it's very
big
important.
slab of butter.
Oh, do you know what? That's also part of the poll. What you dip into it. So 48% love a cheese toasty.
Ooh,
Which is quite...
into a soup.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
There's a lot going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
Garlic bread, 12%,
Yeah.
BLT, 11%, or crackers, 10%. I just think bread and butter.
Yeah, bread and butter. Keep it traditional.
Can't
I
go
would
wrong,
say.
can you? Keep those views coming in, gbnews.com/your say.
Now, Jane Goodall, the world-famous wildlife advocate and chimpanzee expert, has died at the age of 91.
Yes, she was one of the most influential scientists of the modern era. Her pioneering research transformed science, showing that chimpanzees use tools and share complex social behaviours. No scientist had ever seen this before.
And one person who was a friend of Jane's is our very own Eamon Holmes, who joins us live now. Eamon, good morning to you. First of all, I mean, what was Jane like to be in the presence of? What was she like as a person?
She was the most impressive individual I have ever met. I would say the most important, the most talented human being that I've ever met in my life. And we, doing the job we do, are privileged to meet a lot of very impressive people. And my only thing about Jane is not enough people knew about her. Those that did know about her were spellbound, absolutely taken in by the gift that she had. And there she's getting the badge of honor from President Biden at the time. Now look at her here. This is communication that she has with these chimpanzees. Look at this. This is just amazing. That chimp isn't reacting with everybody else around her like that. And the reason is that she speaks the language of that chimp. So she is literally a Dr. Dolittle. She can talk to the animals and the animals can talk to her. And she learnt the vocabulary over 40, 50 years, bit by bit adding to it. And it's just, I tell you, it's eye-watering just looking that that animal can reach out and talk to her. And none of us can do that. And my whole point about her is, and I got to know her over 7 years or so, and I did many, many interviews with her and I talked to her personally. But my point is, why is nobody teaching us to talk to the animals? Why is no one forming a connection between us and cows, us and sheep, us and dogs? I mean, we can all say something to our dog or our cat, goo 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 ga ga ga, whatever, but we're not speaking sense to them. I mean, there she is. You saw her there speaking sense to that chimpanzee, saying goodbye to that chimpanzee and saying, look, we're going to reintroduce you to the wild again. Then off you go. If you need me, I'll be here. We'll come back and we'll meet in this place. And it is stunning to watch, just absolutely mind-blowing.
Such an incredible woman and so ahead of her time, wasn't she, Eamon? I mean, this was a female scientist in the 1960s who went to live out alone with the chimpanzees. I mean, it's just so brave, a pioneer.
Well, she believed in it, Ellie, really believed in it and was really, changing the world, changing life, changing. I mean, you're talking about, these particular monkeys here are endangered species in many cases, and their jungles are being cut down, their habitats are being eroded. And, as an anthropologist and a primatologist, there was nobody equivalent to her in the whole world. And I'm really shocked because she was so healthy, so vibrant, 91 years of age, and honest to goodness, her schedule was absolutely incredible, lecturing around the world. And when she walked into a room, you could tell those that turned up to listen to her speak or what she had to say were so enamored, they were so endeared by her, they were so impressed by her, and rightly so, because we, as a people, just never made enough. Listen to this woman, look at what she can do, how we can actually bind with these animals and change their environments and change the way we treat them, we abuse them. I mean, there was a testing laboratory in Cambridgeshire, which I went to 3 weeks ago. And when I say testing, I mean testing drugs on animals, testing bleaches, testing awful, hideous, ghastly things. And you can hear these little beagles squeal from the cages that they're kept in. And people do that. Why? So we've got a nicer tasting toothpaste that doesn't bring our mouth out in ulcers or whatever it happens to be. It is absolutely inhumane the way we treat animals. And my big feeling in life, it's made me question myself as an individual, and where I am a failure, I still eat meat. And I want to break the connection between why I eat meat and how I see meat. And in a way, like everybody else, we just think you go and get a packet of meat from the supermarket. That's what you get. But we have to reform the connection that is from a living animal. We kill that animal in a horrible way to get the food that we get. And Jane was amazing in just bringing the animals to life and giving them a dignity and giving them a personality. And we all should be better people. I mean, I honestly cannot tell you how privileged it was for me to know her and to meet her over the years. She always stiffened herself. She's a bit like you, Ellie. She always stiffened herself with a drink after talking. You know, she liked to drink before she would on. She liked to drink afterwards, and her favourite drink was whiskey. The trouble was, I noticed it was Scotch whiskey, and I thought, I'm not having this. No, we've got to get her on to Irish whiskey here. So I introduced her to Irish whiskey, and I don't even drink. And I would sit drinking whiskey.
You were flying her with drink.
Yeah, gosh, drinking whiskey, and then I could talk to the animals after that. That was
I mean, Eamon, her legacy, what really strikes me is that she was still lecturing in California right up until she died. And it's important to point out, of course, she's got the Jane Goodall Institute that she founded in the 1970s, Roots Institute, which is a youth programme inspiring global conservation efforts for the next generation. So although she's gone, she's left behind a lot, hasn't she?
She has, and that was her gospel. That's what she preached, and that's what those people that do follow her and those people that work at her institutes and whatever, they are good people. You can tell when there are good people around you, and they don't want any harm to come to these animals, and they have upgraded the status of an animal in their lives and in our lives, and it's something we all have to do, is to have more respect. I mean, one of the things I just cannot stand, really makes me angry, is people who are inhumane to animals, people who are cruel to animals, like deliberately cruel. And I just think it's just hideous. And here, as I say, if you watch her interact, look her up on the internet and whatever, and see her talking to the chimpanzees, it's fascinating because it's quite an aggressive talk sometimes. It can be gentle, but it's when she does it in real life, it's a beating of the chest, and it's quite strong, the language, and it comes back strong from the chimpanzee, and then they embrace, so that there's a love involved in it. But she has got the lingo, and I honestly, genuinely believe we should all learn. There should be some sort of course in school or whatever it happens to be, that we learn to talk to the animals.
Yeah, absolutely. What a gift she had. And thank you, Eamon, for joining us on your day off to pay tribute to your friend, Dame Jane Goodall. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, Britain's newsroom is coming up at 9:30. Andrew Pearce, Miriam Cates, good morning to you both.
Good morning. And Andrew has returned alive from the conference.
Did you survive?
Oh, well done, Andrew.
I was not revered, that's fair to say.
Well, you are here, and we're glad to have you back.
But I survived. No, it was fine. A fascinating conference. And,
what did you make of it?
Well, I think the Prime Minister's speech was a spectacular mistake. Targeting Nigel Farage and reform in that way. I think the polls will show people have concluded you're saying Farage is racist, Farage's policy is racist, you're saying we are. The millions of people who want to vote reform and are tempted to vote reform. And so personalised the attack. Don't play the man. Really personalised it. I mean, I don't recall a conference ever where a leader has been targeted so specifically and in such personal terms.
And the voters will feel they're being targeted as well. Well, we've got lots to come, including the latest migration policy. Can all the Europeans join together to stop the boats? We'll be looking at that, as well as should Northern Ireland veterans face prosecution 50 years on from the Troubles.
Absolutely not. We'll talk to David Davis, Tory MP, about that.
Exactly. All that after your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office. Storm Amy has been named, likely to hit the UK during Friday night. But for the start of today, it's a fine start for many of us. Largely cloudy before some heavy rain turns up across the northwest. Now, this rain isn't Storm Amy, but it is just ahead of the storm, and it's likely to bring some impacts to western Scotland, where we've already had some very wet weather through the week. That rain eased off overnight, but it turns heavier and more persistent once again through Northern Ireland and western Scotland by the afternoon. With the breeze here as well, it's going to be an unpleasant afternoon. But elsewhere, any mist patches soon clearing. Bright enough for the Midlands, the south and southeast of England, and feeling warm once again with relatively light winds. That won't be the case for much of Scotland as we end the day. The heavy rain moves into the north and parts of eastern Scotland as well. It continues through the west with another 50 to 80 millimetres of rain over western Scotland during the next few days, on top of what's already fallen this week. Risk of localised flooding. Northern Ireland also seeing a very wet rush hour. West Wales and Cornwall at this stage starts to see the rain, and it's during the night that the main swathe of winds and rain moves through across the UK. So a lively night of weather for many of us. Wet and windy, some heavy rain out there for a few hours before eventually, as dawn breaks tomorrow, those outbreaks of rain affecting East Anglia and the southeast, the far north of Scotland as well, but drier elsewhere, and a very mild night to come. A notable difference stepping outside in the south first thing, compared with the much cooler mornings we've seen so far this week. And actually, there's a relatively fine spell of weather in between systems during Friday itself. Some spells of sunshine come through across central and eastern parts, feeling warm once again, but you can see outbreaks of rain already by now reaching western areas, and the wind picks up as Storm Amy arrives.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Drivers near Gretna should be aware of a collision blocking the A74M southbound from the A75E. An alternative route is advised. In Wiltshire, expect congestion eastbound on the M4 between junction 24 at Coldra and junction 23 at Rogier. In Buckinghamshire,